Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
What's happening, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. Hold on up to that microphone, sir.
All right.
You were fucking great at that McConaughey thing last year. I really enjoyed that. That was my first time seeing you perform live. It was really
Oh,
cool.
right on. Thank you,
It was
man.
very cool. You're so relaxed up there, man. So it was like you brought everybody into a nice, like, comfortable, chill vibe. It was cool.
I'm glad you guys felt that way. Sometimes it takes me a minute to get into the groove, you know.
Yeah, but it felt like that, you know. It felt like you were in it. Like it brought the whole crowd into it too. That event that he does, the two events, the one, the singer-songwriter one, and then the other one with the auction and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're so cool. Such good events.
Yeah, they're good people too, you know.
Yeah.
And it's I really grown to just appreciate the community around here in Austin and the Hill Country area and all of that stuff. I definitely wouldn't have the career, I don't think, if it wouldn't have been for the community around here that just supporting songwriters and music and the way that they do. It's pretty incredible, you know. When they get behind anything, it's just like, it just feels so good to see that many people come together and you know, have that support. You know?
It's a really good place, man. Austin is a really good community. It really is. A very positive place in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's perfect. There's no perfect places, but it's really good.
Yeah.
I like it so much better than when I was living in California. It just feels like real people. It's just
I miss it, man. I mean, I'm in the process of moving back to Texas as well.
Where are you at right now?
Outside of Dallas, Texas, out by Tyler. But
Okay.
I've been in Topanga Canyon in L.A. for
Oh,
years.
Jesus.
You know, so I've been in the middle of it, and
doing that Hollywood thing.
every time I get across the state line, it's just like that weight comes off, and you're just like, man, I'm home. You know, so. Yeah.
Dude, you had the coolest fucking character on Yellowstone. It must be so fun to play.
It was so much fun, man. I laugh. I always talk about it. I felt like I had like one of the easiest jobs there. You know, it's because the character was kind of a smaller role. You know, most of the time I'd work like 1 or 2 days a week, and then the rest of the time I'd just be like fly fishing and get lost in the mountains and just disappear out there. Yeah, it was awesome.
God, Montana's awesome.
Yeah.
That show made so many people move out there, though.
I know. You're gonna take your license plate off your car before you go.
Right, you better not have a California plate.
Better not.
They will fucking write things on your hood.
Run you off the road.
Yeah, they get upset. It's very interesting. They're very proud to be from Montana, and they want to keep it to themselves. Like, let it go, motherfucker. We're all Americans, all right? If you got a good spot, you should be happy that people from California figure it out.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick. Like, you're American, bitch.
Yeah.
You're not. It's not the United States of Montana. Shut the fuck up.
I guess it's kind of anywhere, right? You know.
Not that much here.
Yeah.
Here's pretty inviting. I've never had that experience here.
Yeah.
Not really.
Texas is a pretty friendly place.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many different walks of life that have been here for so long. You know, I think up there in Montana and stuff, man. If you were tough enough to survive those winters and stake a claim up there back in the day, you had to fight for it, and they're still fighting for it now. You know.
That does make sense. I mean, and that's also one of the things that's highlighted by the whole series, all the different Yellowstone series, the older ones with Harrison Ford, and you know, they really do explain in a lot. I mean, it's kind of a cool chunk of history to see like how this all got started, how the kind of people that had to survive out there when, you know, all you had is a fireplace.
Yeah.
That's it. You got a fireplace. You just know.
I love all those mountain men stories, you know, Jim Bridger and all of that stuff. It's just like, man, and there is something. You get up there in those mountains, mountains get into your bones, it gets into your blood, and it's a different thing, man. It's a spiritual place.
It is, and it's like the most potent art. Like it's nature's art, and you don't think of it as art, but God, it's so beautiful. It's like Like sometimes when you're up there, you just have to stop and look. Like, God, this is gorgeous. And
It's overwhelming if you haven't been up there.
It gives you a feeling. There's like it's almost like a drug that hits you because of the beauty of it all. Like you take it in with the blue sky, and you see the clouds and the mountain, and maybe there's a lake below you in the canyon. And you're like, God, this is gorgeous. Yeah. It's like you feel it in your DNA, man. It's like your body knows, like, this is a fertile, beautiful place that's filled with life, and this should excite you. So all your natural human reward instincts are all like, this is the place I should be.
Yeah.
Like, look at the sky, look at the lake, look at the mountains. This is fertile. This is like life-giving.
Yeah. Yeah. Several years ago, I went to a guide school up there, like a hunting guide
Hunting guide?
school. And it was a whole pack school. I mean, part of it, I grew up cowboying and ranching, but I've never really been up there in those mountains like that. And my dad would always fantasize about that. We'd talk, one day we're going to go on like a pack trip up in Montana. And, we'd watch all those movies like Lonesome Dove and all of that stuff. So it was always just kind of a daydream. And years ago, I was just kind of overwhelmed with music stuff and all that and didn't know what I was going to do. And I just wanted to go up there for a trip, maybe go on a pack trip. And I started looking up places, and I found this place called Royal Tyne Outfitters. And they're like, yeah, we come up and you can take you on a pack trip. But we also have like this 6-week school, that you can train to be a guide. It's all mule pack and all kinds of stuff, And so I was like, man, I'm going to sign up for that, And it was life-changing. There was only 6 of us in the class, and spent weeks back in the backcountry packing mules and horses. And
oh, wow.
We just tie a rope between 2 trees with a tarp for sleeping at night, and always post up a couple of guys to watch over the horses at night. And I remember one morning I woke up, and it was in June, but we were way back in there, and I woke up and the snow was coming down, and I just kind of raised my head up, and I was looking out at the horses, and the snow was just falling down on their backs. And there was that moment in me, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going back. I was like, God, this is where I need to be.
Right.
It was tough to come back to civilization after that.
I think we're doing something with ourselves, with civilization that we can't really fully appreciate because we're wrapped in it. And it's not until you get to nature where all that weight just gets lifted off of you and you feel more normal. And you're like, oh, this is where people are supposed to be.
Yeah, no phones, there's nothing, no distractions. And it's just like all your senses heighten, your eyesight, your hearing, your sense of smell, like all of that stuff. And, I remember going into it, I didn't know what to expect really. I'd done some camping and things like that and grew up ranching and all that. But this was a way different deal. And I remember I just had this like backpack full of gear, And by the time I got out of there, like I just felt like all I needed was a pair of scissors and some way to start some fire, and that was about it.
Yeah, I follow this one dude. God, I'm trying to remember his name. Clay. Let me pull it up because I really enjoy his videos. But this dude, he lives, I believe he lives in Alaska, but he does a lot of trips in America, like all over America, in the lower 48. And he goes and like lives by himself in some kind of harsh environment. Like he's done it in the swamps. Clay Hayes, that's it.
Does he like take his kid out there?
I
with him?
believe he has. He's taken his dog, but a lot of times he just goes entirely by himself. And they're very, very interesting. Like he starts his own fire. He'll figure out how to get food. He figures out how to purify water. He's taken salt water and made his own thing that kind of distills it into fresh water and removes the salt, like very slowly by using a piece of bamboo and fire and boiling the water in the bamboo so that like the water evaporates and then drips down and it doesn't have salt in it apparently.
Yeah, I love that stuff, man.
I love it.
I mean, just to have those skills, just to know how to do it, like whether you'll ever need it or not, just to know how to do that, it's just so cool. I remember in that guide school, there's a lot of different parts to it, which was so cool. It was like we did a whole week of like backcountry, like wilderness first aid. Guy had a paramedic come in and teach us all this stuff, and then there was a whole week of just like leather work. There was a whole week of shoeing horses. There was fly fishing and entomology and all these just kind of little skills. But one thing that really stuck with me was a fire building kind of drill when we started. When it was kind of right when we first got there, and it was pretty wet and it had been snowing, and there's only 6 of us, and we're guys from kind of all over the country. And I grew up in New Mexico and West Texas, where it's pretty dry, and you kind of build a fire. You can kind of just take some little small twigs and get a little fire going, And so he goes, all right, you got 2 minutes to build a fire, and you need to have like a flame to be 3 or 4 feet high. And man, I'm running around grabbing like little sticks and twigs, and we have a lighter too. You know, I'm just struggling. It's just smoking, and we can't get it going. And I look over, and there's a kid from Alaska in the class, and he just runs over to this big dead pine tree, and just breaks off the biggest branch of dead, you know, pine needles and takes his lighter and just within like 5 seconds has this massive fire going on. I was like, okay, that's how you do that, you know. And it was so just the littlest things, you know, to have that knowledge, you know. And part of it was, you know, he was explaining to us, the instructor, he's like, yeah, you know, if you're out here with your guide and somebody that's hunting, maybe he's an elderly guy or somebody gets hurt and you get caught back in the mountains and it's snowing, it's like you better get a fire going and keep them warm real quick, you know. So there was always a reason and a purpose behind it, which was really cool. And I'll never. Those are some of the things I'll never forget.
Did they teach you how to start fires with like a piece of metal and like a flint? Like, you know, what is that? A striking rod? Like,
yeah, we did some flint stuff, and with like the pitch wood from some of the old pine trees. You know, you can find that pitch wood, and we did some bow and wood drill stuff. Not a whole lot.
That
of
fucking
it,
shit is hard.
But it was.
That's hard.
So hard.
I did that in the Boy Scouts, and it took like hours to start a fire.
Yeah.
You have to fucking keep sawing. And if you're doing it with your hand, you're going to blow your hands out.
Yeah.
Like, you better get a bow.
Get your technique down.
Yeah.
You know, you
got to have the stick on the top and the stick that goes all the way to the base thing, and you cut a little hole in the base thing so that it, like, all the little embers can fall into your kindling, and you got to saw the shit out of that fucker.
And imagine trying to do that, you know, in the snow or when it's wet. You know? It's like, man, that's just
very,
incredible.
very unlikely.
Yeah.
You know what's really good for kindling? Fritos.
Really?
Those
the
chips?
oil that's in it?
Yeah. It's kind of shocking.
Yeah.
We were in Alaska, and it was raining all the time, and there was one day where it stopped. I was with my friend Steve Ranella, took me up there. With my friend Brian Callen and Ryan Callahan, all these guys. So we went up there, and when we got one day, like a 10-hour stretch where it was not raining, we're like, we got to start a fucking fire. Because it was raining every day for like 5 days in a row. And we couldn't find any deer. It was a nightmare. It was tough hunting.
Yeah.
So this one day, and we were trying to figure out things to light on fire because everything's soaking wet. And so we got some pieces of wood from like underneath the bottom of trees and shit, and dead trees that were covered by other things that were kind of, sort of, a little bit dry. And we used Fritos. And Fritos, when you light them, man, it's crazy how much oil is in those things.
Yeah.
They just... and they stay lit for a long time, like a candle.
Yeah.
And so we started like piling little things. When we got that fire, I was like the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Oh, I bet. When you're
Soaking
back there
wet.
Stuck, just cannot get. Once you get that kind of cold too, it's just like there's almost, you know,
The cold
nothing to get
wasn't
you
that
warm.
bad cold-wise. It was like in the
Just being
50s or
wet?
60s. Yeah, it was just the wetness. The wetness was impossible to get away from. I thought once you get in your tent, you'd be dry. You get in your sleeping bag, you'd be dry. But I had to take a piss in the middle of the night, and I had to turn on my headlamp in the tent. And when I did, it was all just mist.
Yeah.
Everywhere. It
There's
was moisture.
condensation
And I was
everywhere.
like, oh my God, I'm never going to be dry. I had to just accept, like, there's no drying here.
How long were you guys back in there?
About 6 days.
Yeah.
We had to leave. We were supposed to be there for 7, but we had to leave on the 6th day because the storm was coming in. I was like, I could get stuck. Because you can get stuck up there.
Yeah.
We were on, I guess, Prince Edwards. Is that what the island is? Yeah, you get stuck up there, and I was like, I got to get back home. I got to work.
Did y'all fly in like on
a puddle jumper?
little bush plane?
Yeah, we landed in the pond.
So
and
they
you
had
could drink
certain
right out of
windows
the
to get you
pond.
in and out of there, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And you could drink right out of the pond. Like the pond was all rainwater, and it was too high for beavers, so you didn't have to worry about giardia or anything in the water. You could just drink right out of the pond. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's the best. I've never been. I've been to Alaska only like in the winter on a like skiing thing, but I've always wanted to go up there to hunt and fish. And
The people are
back in there.
extraordinary. Those are rugged people.
Yeah.
Like when I did a gig with my friend Ari in Anchorage, and one of the things, and it was weird because you get there, it's 11 p.m., it's bright out. Like, this is weird. One of the things that we talked about after was like, those people were fucking cool. Like, there's something about living up there, like, where you could die going outside like a good 6 months out of the year. There's fucking bears everywhere. If you look sideways at a moose, it'll stomp you to death in a fucking Walmart parking lot.
Yeah.
Like,
you better have your shit together.
You better have your shit together. There's bald eagles everywhere. The salmon are as big as your thigh. I mean, the people there they work together. They're very friendly, but they're very rugged. But they're also like, they realize you need each other. Like there's a sense of like community and coolness. Yeah. You need each other. If your fucking car breaks down the side of the road, you could die. Like someone's not gonna let you die. They're gonna pull over. In California, they're like, someone will get them. They just keep driving. So you just lose this sense of community.
Yeah, you're not calling. You're not. That's who you're calling for help in times of need is your neighbor. Right?
Exactly.
I mean, even if like the bridge washes out, it's like here comes your neighbor with the backhoe and the tractor, and like you just do it yourselves. You
and
know?
that makes a cool friendship when your friend helps you out, or when you help your friend out. It's
That's
like,
what I miss about living in Texas too. You know, it's just like some of the small things or whatever that you like. Even up at my place in Topanga, you know, you want to build some fence or whatever. Like I feel lucky. I've got a couple of really good friends up there, neighbors that love to come, work with their hands or get their hands dirty, and we'll build stuff. But like, man, in Texas, you want to like weld something, or you need something with a tractor, some heavy equipment thing. Like you're not getting that done in California.
Right.
It's going to cost you a fortune to get someone with a skid steer up to your house to help you move some dirt around, But here in Texas, it's like, oh man, just call Frank down the road. He's got one.
There's people that have a long tradition of doing stuff. You know, it's like it's a real place.
I grew up like that too. People cutting hay and stuff like that, especially when you're young. Like, man, we would go stack hay for everybody around. It's like that was the summer job. It's like, let's just go.
That makes a strong person. Yeah. People that throw hay around, those are strong like that term, like farmer strength, that shit's real.
Yeah, you better say. I was always a little guy too, so I had to learn how to use leverage real quick. Roll those bells up on your knee. I think one of the last times I did that, I remember, is I was going to school in Stephenville, Texas, and had a good friend over in Glen Rose, and it was the middle of July, and he's an older man, and asked us to come help him stack hay in his barn. And it was, we're stacking it in the barn, so, and it's just like you're inside the barn. It's just hot. It could have been 110 degrees in there, and we're talking hundreds of bales of hay, and it was just all we could do. And of course, we're hungover. We're, in college. We're stacking hay, and I was like, I think this is my last hay hauling job right now.
Yeah, those jobs. Those are good for letting you know that this is not the life you want.
Yeah.
Like, get a good, rugged manual labor job. It'll knock some fucking sense into you.
That's why I got the guitar, man. I learned pretty quick that the guitar felt a lot better in my hands than that shovel did.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I spent one summer doing insulation in an attic. It was all that fiberglass insulation.
Yeah.
I had it in all my skin
because
you're sweating.
In your eyes.
Yeah, you're sweating because it's hot and it's the summer, so it's getting into your pores, and you're always itchy. You feel like it's on you all the time. Also, like, it's got to be terrible to be breathing that shit in.
Oh, the worst. Yeah.
And I don't even think we were using equipment. I don't think we used any safety equipment.
Heck no, you didn't have a mask on or anything.
I don't believe so. I think we just installed it, just unrolled that shit and stuffed it into the rafters.
Using paint with lead in it.
And then back then the gasoline had lead too.
So drinking out of the water hose.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think it makes a resilient person to drink out of water hoses.
Heck yeah, you get tough or die.
You get extra minerals from the fucking copper on the faucet. Yeah, it's those jobs are really important, like for a young person to figure out what they don't want to do. It teaches you work ethic, teaches you like, hey, like this is you can get some satisfaction out of a hard day's work and a hard week. Like you did it, you put it in, you feel good about yourself. You know it was difficult to do, but don't keep doing that.
Yeah,
figure out a way out of this.
Yeah,
you got to understand that. You understand it. You got to feel for it. You know what hard labor is, but don't ruin your life.
Yeah, I feel real grateful. My granddad was always a real hard worker, and even when I was 12 and 13, in the summers, or I spent a lot of time living with him, and he always had a job lined up for me. It's like, hey, you're gonna go over here and we're gonna mow so and so's lawn this morning, or we're gonna go over here. We're gonna send you out to Ken's and you're going to build some fence this weekend. And I always enjoyed it, though. I enjoyed those guys I was around, and, I'd work all day, and then we'd sit around and they'd drink beer in the afternoon and tell me stories. And You know, and even now, like on my own place, you know, it's like I don't want to be building somebody else's fence, but I'm glad I know how to build my own, or things like that, and have those skills. I still love working around the house and doing little projects and things like that. I meet a lot of younger guys and kids that sometimes I guess I have an expectation that they know how to do that kind of stuff, you know.
Right.
They want to come over to the house and help with some projects and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, cool. We'll just, you know, I already dug those holes and set up a string line, and we'll set these posts. And they're like, okay. And then after about a half hour, I look over, I'm there just kind of looking at the ground. I'm like, what are we doing here? You know, they're like, I don't have a clue what you want me to do. You know,
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
But yeah, it's wild. It's changed, man. Kids ain't out there mowing lawns no more. That's for sure.
No. Well, there's something about that kind of work, like putting in fences and all the stuff that you see the cowboys doing on Yellowstone and then hanging out together afterwards. That's so like viscerally appealing to people.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about watching that life. Like you would say it's like a simple, difficult life. Maybe. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's like it's so appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Like so many people wanted to be cowboys after they watched your show.
Mm-hmm. I think it's something goes to, like you were talking about that guy living off the land and stuff like that. It's just you know, something that's been ingrained in us over thousands of years of survival, and like we all have that in us still today, and we just unfortunately lose in touch with it because we're not doing it as much. And so when you get the opportunity to even just go plant a garden or something like that, I think that's it. It's in us, you know, and it wakes up something within that's just been a little bit dormant for a while, you know. And
I think you're right.
you know,
I think that's exactly what it is. I think it is like it's in our memory, like the memory of our genes that this is like a pleasing life. This is a satisfying life.
it's like that mama bear energy, you know. Kids come, it's just like, I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's there, you know, and it's just like I realized that having kids, it's just like, oh man, it wakes something up within you that's always been there,
Right.
you know, that you were born to have, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
that survival instinct and all of those things. And I still, that's what I still love about it. Like even at home, being on the road and being in big cities all the time, and you're just surrounded with information and screens, man. As soon as I can get home or get outside or get into nature, it wakes that stuff back up in me, and I feel like it puts that spark back in my eye, you know.
Yeah.
I try to stay in tune with that as much as I can.
Well, it's clearly so appealing to people that don't experience it. I mean, how many people that are watching shows like Yellowstone never go into those areas, but they watch it,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I want to live like that."
Or you see the prices of horses are just skyrocketing. Like you
Yeah.
can
Oh,
buy an
I'm
old ranch horse
sure.
for like $5,000, and now
I'm sure.
it's like
Push this thing.
$50,000 for a trail horse, you know, which is cool. You know, I hope people are enjoying that and getting something out of it. I mean, I'm not running a bunch of cows these days, but I keep a few horses around, and especially for the kids, you know, and whether they want anything to do with them or not, like we enjoy so much in the afternoons, go up and feed them some carrots or brushing their tails and just being around that energy. My youngest little boy, he's got some kind of mojo with animals, you know, and I've got this old mule, and her name's Honey, and she's got these big ears, and she's massive, you know, and I remember when he was like 3 or 4, I'd be looking around for him in the backyard, and I'd look out in the pasture, and he'd be out there with that mule, and she'd have her head down, and he's just out there petting her ears,
Aww.
you know, and just like his connection with those animals. And then, you know, getting kids up to the house or or from the city that aren't around those animals, their first time around horses or maybe even dogs and stuff like that, and you can see they're so anxious and, you know, not maybe so scared, but it's just nervous, you know, it's just big animals and stuff. And within like 20 minutes of just sitting them on their back or petting them, and then you see them relax, and you see that energy kind of slow down, and I love that. You know, I think it's so magical to watch. And
Yeah, that's another
you know.
relationship that's like primal, the relationship between people and horses.
Mm-hmm.
They do that with addicts. They do equine therapy, where they just have like people that have like heavy anxiety and depression. They have them hang out with horses.
I think even me,
really works.
I still do. I mean, I get depressed and stuff like that every now and then, and I love being around them. I can walk out to the barn and just being around them and laying on their
Weird, right?
backs, and it's just like, yeah, all right, here we go.
Just touching their head makes you feel better. Like, hey,
Yeah.
how are you, honey?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening?
They look at me,
Yeah.
connect. You know,
Yeah.
I get eye contact with them.
I think it's
just looking into your soul.
an ancient thing. I mean, they helped us survive.
Mm-hmm.
And we took care of them. It's like this ancient relationship, and then when you're around them, that connection like immediately rebonds, reestablishes. I think it's in our DNA. I mean, just think about like how many generations of humans had to survive on horseback before anybody invented anything else.
Yeah.
It was like if you wanted to travel faster than you could run, it had to be a fucking horse.
Yeah.
So that was probably thousands and thousands and thousands of years just cooked into our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're around him, it's like, oh, my friend. This is my friend.
It's waking it back up.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's there. Yeah,
It's weird
yeah.
that stuff is in you.
Mm-hmm.
That nature stuff is in you. I mean, that's why we like watching shows like this Clay Guy.
Mm-hmm. I love that too. I love that Steve Rinella's show, that Meat Eater. I like watching that with my kids. And aren't you friends with Remy Warren?
Oh yeah, real good friends.
He ended up being my neighbor when I was in Montana working on Yellowstone.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
And what I really liked up there was where they filmed the show. You know, it was kind of way out there, southwestern Montana. And a lot of folks that were working on the show would go back to Missoula or in the cities. But I was like, man, I want to go get as far away out there as I can. And so I kind of went down this West Fork area that's on the right on the edge of the most massive wilderness areas out there that goes into Idaho. And the road I was on, you know, was paved dirt, then it dead ended, and it turned into a dirt road. And then I got this cabin that was just way back up, and there was no Wi-Fi, no nothing, you know. And I just disappeared out there, and ended up meeting some folks. And Remy was just right down the road, going towards Sula, and so I got the chance to just go over there and hang out with him and go stomp around the mountains with him. It's such a cool dude. It's like
Remy's the best.
just, you know, like you're talking about going to Alaska. You know, I love going into those places, but like you want somebody like that with you when you go.
For
you
sure.
know?
Yeah. Yeah, he knows how to get around.
Yeah.
And he used to have a great show. Well, first of all, he had Solo Hunter, where he'd go and film everything himself, which is so much more difficult than just hunting.
Yeah.
He would set up he would carry tripods with him and shit and set it up and make sure the camera's on the animal before he would shoot it, and then film himself moving up to there, set up different cameras so they could show him executing the shot. I'm like, God, that's so complicated.
And he's a beast, man. Just trying to keep up with him, you know, just walking around the mountains with that guy. I'm like, oh man, wait up, I'm coming.
Yeah, they get that mountain cardio.
Yeah, he's like a mountain goat.
Well, he hunts probably 200 plus days a year.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he does a lot of guiding. And when he's doing guiding, he's like always in the mountains, always hiking. It's like you just get conditioned to it.
Yeah, he's fit. I went to Hawaii with him and did an axis hunt over there. Cool, one of the coolest things I ever did. And I got this buck, and we were loading him up in the truck and all that, and he was like, man, I'll meet you guys back at camp. You know, and it was dark already, and like I know, you know, during the day we were hunting, it was just, steep mountains up and down. And I said, you're just gonna meet us back? He's like, yeah, I'll meet you back. And he just put on his backpack and just took off running. And we, you know, drove down this mountain road to go back, and he beat us there by like a half an hour, you know. And that was his workout, though. He's like, yeah, it's part of my workout. I'll meet you guys back there. I was like, oh, you're an animal.
That's funny. Axis deer in Hawaii is very interesting because they were given to King Kamehameha in like, I don't remember what year it was. Find out what year they got introduced there, but they're everywhere now. I've gone to Lanai a bunch of times.
That's where we went.
Bow hunting.
Yeah, it was wild. There are thousands of them everywhere, and you're trying to sneak up on a group of 10, and then you don't even realize there's like 100 right here laying down that you didn't even see, and then they get up and spook the rest and stand. Well, you know, you've been there.
Okay, it was in the 1800s.
Yeah. Wow.
A gift to King Kamehameha from India. And there's 30,000 of them in Lanai and only 3,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
we were
It's
laughing.
the only place where you can go hunting, bow hunting, and you stay at the Four Seasons.
Right? I think Remy said he got kicked out of there, though, because he was hunting so much. And, all that red clay there, on your boots and stuff. He said so the whole hotel was just like red clay everywhere. The fridge is just full of meat, with like blood dripping out.
They kicked him out of there?
Oh, I don't know if they kicked him out,
that's
but like he's like,
hilarious.
well, maybe we ought to go find somewhere else to stay,
Well, just take off your boots before you come inside.
Yeah.
That's all it is. But yeah, it's that weird red clay, and it all used to be part of the Dole pineapple plantation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're around there, one of the things you notice is like there's layers of dirt, but then there's like almost looks like plastic bag underneath it, like a hefty bag.
from all the farming.
Yeah, so I guess they had a layer of like that kind of whatever the fuck a hefty bag is made out of, whatever that plastic is.
Yeah.
And then the dirt was on top of that somehow, and then the pineapples would grow up through it.
How subs keep moisture and stuff like that in the ground.
Yeah, I would
farming,
imagine.
yeah.
But it's disconcerting because it doesn't feel like nature. It feels weird. It's like
It
this is
does.
weird. There's plastic everywhere in the ground.
Yeah.
It's
And then you
also,
get in the mountains and like those old World War II turrets and stuff that are up there. Did
Oh,
you come
yeah.
across any of that? I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
first of all, like hunting axis deer in Lanai, and like you get up on the top and you're surrounded by the ocean. I mean, what a trip,
I
experience
know.
just seeing that, and then coming across all those old relics and just all the history there. It's just something to take into. And we are laughing because obviously they're trying to like control the population of the axis deer there. And I think somebody mentioned, like, man, just get a couple of Bengal tigers out here.
Exactly.
That'll thin out the population.
It's thin out the population of people too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The thing about them is that they did evolve around tigers. That's why they're so fast. Like they'll jump a string faster than any animal I've ever seen in my life. I have a video of me shooting at an axis deer at 80 yards, and it's we have a slow mo of
a
the
long
arrow.
shot, yeah.
So as the arrow's coming, it's a perfect shot. Within 10 yards of him, he hears it and phew, and he's gone. It's the craziest thing. Like you look at it, you're like, how the fuck did he move that fast? This thing's going at least from the actual like leaving the bow, it's going 275 feet per second.
Yeah.
And he can
He can
get
hear
out
it-
of
hear
there
it
within
coming,
10
huh?
yards. Within 10 yards, he's hearing it coming, and he's like, "See ya!"
Yeah.
And nowhere near him. Like he was a foot in front of. The arrow landed a foot behind his ass.
Jeez.
That's how fast they move.
yeah.
It's crazy.
How long did you go over there for a while, or just kind of like
I've been there a few times.
trips? Yeah.
We found that the best time to hunt is actually in the afternoon, because in the afternoon it's really windy, and when it's really windy, it covers your sound a little better.
Okay.
The morning's rough.
Yeah.
The morning's rough. Like the morning, I got a couple of them in the morning. Couple of times morning hunting, I got a deer, but it's a lot of blown stalks. You got to walk super slow. You got to be real cautious. And again, there's a lot of high brush, and you don't know where the fuck they're hiding.
Yeah.
You got to kind of find a pinch point. And
Yeah, you jump one and then the rest of them
Yeah.
sound off. The way they bark and all of that's pretty crazy
yeah,
too.
it's
huh?
weird. It's a weird noise. What you got to kind of do is like find where they're going to be and just wait, because
Yeah.
they travel so much. They do so much moving. You think I'm just going to go, still hunt and spot and stalk, and I'll find one, and you're almost better off just staying put.
Yeah.
Just staying put and wait for them, because they're moving all over the place. There's so fucking many of them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how unsuccessful people are bow hunting them. Rifle, it's a done deal. It's,
Yeah.
If you want meat, and it's the best meat in the world. It's it's for the people that live there. It's incredible. I mean, they have access to the best meat in the world. 100%, they're going to
Yeah.
get a deer. And so if you have a bow, we went there, and then so I went with Remy. I went with John Dudley, Cam Haynes, and Adam Greentree. Are like all seasoned bow hunters.
Yeah.
Everybody got a deer, and we made a podcast about it. We had a good old time. They had 150 people go over the next year, and one was successful with a bow.
Yeah.
That's
You have to take your
crazy.
chances. Yeah.
That's how hard it is.
Yeah.
Because it's like these fuckers they're dialed in, man, and they move.
A lot of people chasing them too.
Yeah.
They know the game, right?
365 days a year they get hunted. There's no season. And then they have snipers that are after them at night, because they use it for meat for the restaurants and meat for people, and they just have to control the population.
Yeah.
There's so many of them and no predators.
Yeah, and still can't thin them out, right?
I know, it's crazy. Well, I think they got a good head start. They eradicated them from the Big Island.
Oh, did they? I didn't know that. Okay.
Somebody tried to reintroduce them, or introduce, I should say, to the Big Island, and they're like, no. We know where this is going. He's gonna destroy people's crops and destroy people's gardens.
And just take over.
And they already have plenty of wild pigs on the Big Island, so they just they whacked them all, unfortunately.
It's kind of like the pigs here in Texas, right?
Crazy.
Isn't it gone wild? I don't, growing up here when I was younger, I never remember them being like how they are now.
They don't stop.
Yeah.
They have 3 or 4 litters a year, and each litter has, I think they can have as many as 6 piglets.
It's crazy.
And they can get pregnant 6 months old. At 6 months old, they can get pregnant. They're ready to rock, and they're just spitting out pigs
and just tearing shit up.
Yeah, we have a lease out here for a hunting land. Me and some of my friends, and the amount of pigs is disturbing. It's like you hear them everywhere. You hear them in the bushes. They're all over the fucking place. It's like most of Texas, probably that's not like city, has wild pigs in it. It's just like
taking over, man.
And this all came over on boats.
Yeah.
That's how it all got here.
Is that
guys
how they all
from
got?
Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just importing them in.
Yeah, guys from Europe, they brought boats, and in the boats, some of them brought pigs, and then they let them loose.
It's crazy, man. Tearing stuff up. Yeah, I don't ever remember them being as bad as they were in the last 15 years or so.
It's actually bad in California too, and California has them from William Randolph Hearst.
Well, didn't they eradicate them off the Channel Islands out there?
I think so. I think the islands, and they had mule deer on some of the islands out there too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I forget
so.
which island had mule deer, but apparently they had like you could go hunt on one of these islands.
Yeah, I think you might still be able to, like on Catalina or a couple, but maybe.
Do they
not
really
Santa
allow
Cruz?
That
they did, because I know my buddy Matt. He did it like maybe the last year or the year before, but I think they're trying to put a stop to it and kind of stop it. Those Channel Islands are pretty interesting. I remember first moving out there, even just going out there 15 years ago, and seeing the islands out there, and I'd ask people all around. I was like, man, what's the deal with these islands out there? And half the people that I would talk to be like, what are you talking about, islands? And I'm like, that island right out there. They're like, oh, I thought that was Long Beach. I'm like, really? I was like, have you looked at a map? I love maps, so I just started, doing some research and figuring out all about it. And they're really cool. And over the years, I've met some really cool guys who go out there a lot and spearfish, and just to go out there to them. And besides Catalina, like Santa Cruz and San Miguel, and they're all like nature preserves and protected. So it's like going back in time when you get out there, and I love it out there. It's such a cool spot.
Are they trying to eradicate deer from Catalina? I think I've read something about that. See if that's true. I think they were trying to remove the deer because they said the deer were non-native to the island.
Yeah, I think that's what they did with the hogs, and I don't know. There's like a specific island fox out there.
Yeah, here it is. As of early 2026, California officials have approved a controversial plan to fully eradicate the non-native mule deer population on Santa Catalina Island to restore the ecosystem. Around 2,000 deer introduced in the 1930s for hunting will be removed by ground-based hunters to protect native biodiversity. Come on. That sounds crazy. How about just let people hunt them? Fuck's wrong with you? Yeah. So the issue is Catalina Island Conservancy considers the mule deer an invasive species that disrupts the ecosystem as they consume native plants and seedlings while spreading fire-prone invasive grasses. Really? I just always worry about conservancies and their judgments on things like that, because there's a lot of, they want to eradicate all the pigs from Texas or from California rather. They think of them as non-native and they want them out too, but you're not going to. They want to eradicate deer. There's like elk in California that are Yellowstone elk that were brought there in like the 1950s. That they want to eradicate
Like
them too.
like the Thule elk?
No, they're actually Rocky Mountain elk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they're a larger breed of Rocky Mountain elk. They call yellow. Apparently,
Like in the Sierras or down along the coast and stuff?
Tehachapi.
Tehachapi, yeah.
Up in that area, in those mountains. Big fucking elk, like 400-inch elk. Like a couple of those elk out there that are in the front, that's what they're from.
That's
from
there? Oh,
from
those
that
are
area.
massive.
Yeah, it's from Tejon Ranch.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah, it's like going up over the grapevine and stuff.
Exactly.
That's where you got those?
Uh-huh.
Wow, I had no idea that
Bro,
they were that big out there.
huge. It's the biggest private ranch in California. It's like 270,000 acres.
I've heard of the ranch, but I didn't know that they had
Gorgeous.
elk like that up there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
one of the rare places. Gorgeous fucking place. But they also go up. It's kind of funny. They go up to there's a golfing community higher up in Tehachapi, and the elk just hang out on the golf course.
Just
So
tearing it
like
up.
giant elk, like 400-inch elk, just chilling, hanging out together on the golf course, and dudes are playing golf
That's wild.
while they're lying down next
Yeah.
to them, like 20 yards away. It's crazy.
I saw some one time. I was driving up the coast. I think I was going up to San Francisco to play a gig, and maybe they're the Thule elk. I'm not sure what they were, but I was along the coast there, and I looked over in the field, and there was like 30 head of them just laying down over there. I'm like, oh man, I didn't even know there were elk down here. It's just, I love seeing wildlife that in unexpected places, you know.
Yeah. They recently just found a wolf
Or
in
unexpected
Los
for me
Angeles.
anyway. Oh really?
Yeah. See if you can find the story about that wolf that they just discovered in Los Angeles.
There's a mama bear, black bear with 3 cubs now running around in Topanga.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
and
those.
A lot of lions running around.
There's a lot of bears.
Yeah.
I've seen them in Pasadena and people's pools.
I knew
bears.
that there's a bunch out in Pasadena and like
Look at this.
Glendale.
Wolf detected
look at
in
that.
Los Angeles County for the first time in more than a century. Crazy. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
Those guys can fucking travel. I had a
Man.
lady on who was a wolf biologist,
Mm.
and she was talking about like they'd collar some of these wolves, and they would track them. They would go 500 miles.
Yeah,
Like, it's kind of insane.
I
Like,
didn't know that. That's incredible.
well, that's how they learned about them. It's really the only way to tell is to like put a collar on them and track them by GPS.
Mm-hmm.
And they're extraordinary animals. Like,
Where were they originating from in Montana, Wyoming, and where were they going? The ones that they were tracking.
I think the ones that they were tracking were the part of the group that was brought in, in the 1990s.
Mhm.
So there was that pack and the subsequent packs that came after that. There were all the reintroduced wolves, and so they would, dart and collar some of them. And when they would do that, they would just track their motion. They're like, Jesus, these fuckers are
covering some ground.
They're
huh?
covering some ground. They're covering some ground. And it's interesting, too, that they actually make mountain lions kill more deer.
Good competing with them.
Yeah, because the mountain lions kill a deer, and then the wolves will steal it.
Oh,
So
okay.
they'll come up
Yeah.
on the mountain lion, and they'll surround him, and the mountain lion will go, fuck this, I'm out of here. And he'll just
Yeah.
go kill another deer. So he doesn't even get a chance to eat his deer because the wolves keep stealing his deer.
And keep tracking the lions.
Yeah.
Probably just following them around.
They're smart,
Let 'em
man.
do the dirty work, yeah.
They do. They let them do the dirty work, and then they steal their
Work
food.
smarter, not harder, huh?
So what does it say? The wolf that they found?
Yeah, this is from February when they first spotted it.
So the wolf was born in 2023. Plumas County's. Where's Plumas County? It's traveled more than 370 miles. Wow. Including crossing State Route 59 near Tehachapi. There you go.
Yeah.
They had one up in Tehachapi, too, that a buddy of mine. It was actually closer to the city that's down there. What is that fucking city?
Bakersfield?
Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wildlife officials now estimate at least 60 wolves live in the state. Wow.
One crossed over in 2011.
Wow. From California, from Oregon. So they find them in the Tehachapi Mountains. Interesting. Biologists told newspapers that she could encounter a mate in the nearby regions such as Tehachapi Mountains, potentially forming a new pack or continue to roam. What was that picture you just had of the elk? Yeah, that's that golf course. Look at that. giant fucking elk chilling on the golf course,
on the
clashing.
flag.
Yeah, look how
Yeah.
beautiful that is. God, it's so pretty out there. Massive elk. Oak Tree Country Club.
Perfect sanctuary for him, right?
Oh, yeah, man. And it's just, it adds to the coolness of playing golf. I mean, you're playing golf around giant, beautiful animals.
I bet those greenskeepers love them, though.
They probably fuck up all kinds of things up there. Yeah. It's, the wolf thing is interesting because they just brought him back to Aspen, and they did a really stupid thing. They brought him into an area where it has a lot of livestock, and they brought him in from a place in Oregon where these wolves had all been captured because they were killing agriculture.
Yeah.
So what did they do? They captured him and they dropped him off in Colorado where they started killing cows
in the national
again.
park.
They just do it. Well, it's on my friend's ranch. One of them, they dropped 3 wolves off on my friend's ranch.
That's tough, man. I've
He's
heard
so
that
mad.
even with the bears and stuff. You know, you get some problem bears or whatever, and then they go drop them out where the farmers and ranches are living. You know, it's like, man, how's that gonna work? You
Well,
know?
it's the people in charge of these things that making these decisions. They don't understand what they're doing. They're monkeying around with wildlife, nature, biology, and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You have no idea. Also, like how the fuck you in good conscience take a wolf that's used to killing cows and put him around other people's cows?
Yeah, it's
That's
already programmed, man. The dinner bells ringing.
It knows exactly
Yeah.
how to do it. It knows it's easy. They're all fenced in. They taste delicious. Why would it stop?
Or why
you
would
know?
it? Yeah, why would it
Yeah.
go chase tougher prey, right?
So now these poor ranchers have to have people monitoring their cows 24/7. They have to have cowboys up all night that are wandering around and on horseback and just looking for wolves. I mean, it's a disaster. They've
It's
killed
tough.
dozens of
Yeah.
cows. It's
And these
like-
are folks that, you know, have been, like we said, surviving on this land for generations and dealing with that, and, you know, have a history with managing that stuff. You know, it'd probably be the folks I'd want to ask
Yeah.
of how to handle it, you know?
Well, they would certainly tell you, don't let the wolves in. And
Yeah.
if you do, kill them. You know, but now it's gotten to the point where I think they're going to have to do something about them.
Will they
Because
put
the
a
numbers just keep
hunting
stacking.
limit on them? You think?
Honestly, that would probably do something, but really what you should do is hire someone to recapture them. And don't drop them off there. Don't drop them off in fucking Aspen, you idiot. Because they're going to eat people's poodles, too. Okay, they don't give a shit. Well, if they run out of cows, if somehow or another the ranchers scare them away from the cows and they make it into the town of Aspen,
Yeah.
you don't think they're going to eat your golden retriever? They're going to eat all kinds of dogs. They
Yeah.
eat dogs in Alaska all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear a lot of, like the lions and stuff, man, they coming after your kids.
Yeah.
You know, there's
Yeah.
been stuff that Malibu Creek Park. You know, I've heard a couple of incidents there. You know, hit. It's like, man, they're gonna go eat something.
Especially when they're old.
Yeah.
When they get old,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they can't catch a deer anymore.
Yeah.
And they're hungry and they haven't eaten in a few days. And then they see a kid
Mm-hmm.
hanging around a little too close to the outside of the woods.
I got a big one that comes right by my house. I got a little game trail cameras set up, and I got a little fountain right in the front. It doesn't come around when I'm there because we got the dogs, you know, a lot. But whenever I'm out of town for weeks at a time, I'll come back and that sucker's just laying on my front porch. Whoa. Just massive. And then the other day, a friend of mine was taking the trash out, and it was like around lunchtime, and it jumped over the fence into the driveway and had a dead rabbit in its mouth, just looking at her, you know. And she's like,
Holy shit.
they're there, you know. So every time I'm even walking around by myself or with the dogs, you're just like, man, this sucker just be in a tree looking at me right now.
Yeah, you're just living
You know?
with monsters.
Yeah,
Whew.
they're there.
California spent more than $100 million trying to make a bridge over, I forget which freeway it is.
It's the 101, isn't it?
Is it the 101? I think you're right. So they spent over $100 million and it's still not done.
Oh my gosh.
For a bridge for the mountain lions. Like, you fucking dorks. It's like this idea of like it's going to be a bridge, but it's going to have dirt and grass on it, so it'll encourage them to walk across so they don't have to go over the highway and die.
This has been nicer than the roads we're driving on.
Yeah. Well, $110 million is crazy, and it's still not even done.
Oh,
like
man.
it is. Like it's so crazy. So that's what early 2026.
It's like going up to Ventura, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they want to have this big dirt mound and this bridge so the animals can get across the highway. But it's just like, it's so goofy. And they never want people to do anything about the population of mountain lions. Regardless of how out of control they are, they don't do anything about it. They have to hire people. The state has to hire people to go and get the bad mountain lions, the ones that are problems.
Yeah.
And when they capture them, one of the things they find out is when they actually kill them, right? So one of the things they find out when they examine their diet, it's like 50% pets.
Yeah.
50% dogs and cats. That's what your mountain lions are eating.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And they spend money, like a lot of money, going after these mountain lions. And instead, they could make money by letting people hunt these mountain lions and giving them tags and control the numbers. In that place, Tejon Ranch, one of my buddies works there, and they have a trail camera set up on a pond, and they found 16 different cats that were drinking out of that pond.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. I was like, when I first started going out there too, the coyotes, you know, and even around like in Hollywood and stuff, you know, I was like, man, I swear I just saw a coyote running down the street with a pair of sunglasses on and a gold chain, eating better than any of us.
When I went there in '94, that was the first time I ever saw a coyote. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I was staying at, you know, they have those furnished apartments, the Oakwood furnished apartments.
Oh, no,
It's
not
like
really.
temporary,
Okay.
like for people that are like, don't have a house yet and you got to move to California quick. They have this place called Oakwoods, and you go in there. It's already got a couch, it's already got a TV, it's already got a bed. You're like, okay,
Like an
You can
Airbnb
just,
type of
almost
thing?
like you
Yeah,
just
all
move
right.
in.
Yeah.
And I was driving up to the entrance to the place, and I see these little dogs on the street. I was like, what the fuck is going on? These dogs.
That ain't no dog.
German Shepherd? What the? I was like, oh my God, they're coyotes. Like, this is weird. And so this is like '94. I had never seen a fucking coyote. I'd never even heard of a coyote being out just wandering in the street. I just couldn't believe it, that they just wander around on the concrete.
Man, they're everywhere. I feel like I've seen more there than anywhere. You see them more in town than you do anywhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, they have large populations of them in downtown where they know where they den up. They den up in certain warehouse buildings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like abandoned buildings
Yeah,
and under
man.
bridges and
Weird.
freeways and stuff.
Yeah, they live there. They probably keep the
Nature will
rat
take back
population.
over one day, won't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they probably keep the rat population in check, though,
Yeah.
if you think about it.
Yeah. I keep a lot of other things in check too.
Right. Cats. Well, there's a terrible video from Woodland Hills a few years back where a guy was unloading his car and his toddler was out there in the grass, like right
saw
next to him.
that.
And the
Yeah.
coyote grabbed his toddler and tried to run away with his kid.
Yeah, I saw that, man. I'm always watching around for stuff, and with our kiddos or just people around the neighborhood and stuff. You got to remind yourself, they're there and they're not scared of you.
Exactly.
They're not afraid. I remember one of the first times I went up to Ojai, just north of L.A. there. And I just wanted to go up there and go hike around and check out the area. And there was an archery shop up there, and I had this old guy, kind of looked like Charlie Daniels, just big overalls, big old beard, and I walked in there and just to check out the shop and also just ask him about, some areas to go stomp around in. And I had a Australian Shepherd dog at the time, and just asked him where, good places to go stomp around. He said, yeah, you go up there. He goes, but I wouldn't take your dog with you. I was like, really? Why? And he's like, man, those lions are a real deal up here, And he's like, he goes, you won't see them, until they're on you, And I just, I knew they're lions and stuff like that, but hearing it from that guy, maybe he's trying to scare me a little bit, but it's real deal.
It's real. It's real, and they try to downplay it, and because all the wildlife lovers, all the greenies, they don't want you like sounding the
Interfering with
alarm
that,
and killing them.
Yeah.
What their goal is to have zero hunting. Their goal is to have all the animals just balance each other out.
It ain't gonna happen.
You can't. It's
not with humans in the mix.
No, the humans have interrupted that whole
Yeah.
idea, right? So if you've got a city and then you've got wild giant predators, like 170-pound cats that are killing dogs, and they're like, you got to control them.
Yeah. Can't manage one without managing the
No.
other, right?
And so the first thing they did to stop people from doing it is they banned hunting with dogs. So if you ban hunting with dogs, guess what? You're killing most of the hunting, because the reality of mountain lions is you can't find them. They're really hard to find, really hard to catch, really hard to find, and the best way to control their population is to tree them. And you get dogs to tree, because that way you know if it's a tom or if it's a female. You know if it's mature. You know what size it is. You have a really accurate estimation. You can look up at it. Oh, that's a mature tom.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking to kill. And then you can control their population.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Same with bears. It's
Yeah,
a great way to
see
control
what it is
bears.
and decide if it needs to go or if it needs to stay, right? Yeah.
But they do little things to stop the effective hunting first. So California, you can still hunt for black bears, but you can't use dogs anymore. And so as soon as they stopped the use of dogs, the amount of black bears they harvested went way down.
Yeah.
So the amount of bears in the population went way up.
Yeah, I don't think I know they've been around in Pasadena a lot, but I don't think there's been one in Topanga for a while. I mean, I've been up there, almost 15 years and hadn't heard of one. This is the first time one's kind of made it over into that area that I know of anyway. Maybe up, around the Malibu Creek and those state parks, but
In Topanga, there's probably people feeding them.
oh, 100%.
I've
yeah.
got berries for you, my friend. Come.
Giving them weed. Some berries.
Topanga's great, but it always sketches me out if a fire catches.
Oh man, we got hit hard last year, as the Palisades stuff, and man, I didn't. That was kind of it for me too. I was like, I'm out.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, I've evacuated out of there several times over the years, but I've got horses up there now and stuff like that. And luckily, I had like I always keep a big truck and a trailer just in case. And I've got some friends down in Burbank that have some stables, that I'll have like as a backup plan. And but this was just a different deal. As the crow flies, I could see the smoke from the Palisades. It's like a mile away. And we were actually working in our arena there, and smoke came up, and I was like, shoot, let's just go. Every time I see the smoke, like, I don't wait. I'm just like, we'll be the first ones out and beat the mad rush of everybody that's going to decide to try to stay. And loaded up the trailer and the truck and the camper and the dogs and all that stuff. And I was like, let's go. And my wife and I went down to Burbank, and I remember we were driving through the night, and the wind was just howling like I've never seen before, and power lines are snapping, and it's just like trees are coming down, and it just felt like the end of the world, And we get to Burbank, and we pull back in these stables, and there's a kind of a big cinder block wall, and I just got as close to that as I could because it was blocking the wind, from hitting us. And the next morning, I woke up, and my throat was sore and hurting. I could hardly breathe. And I opened the camper door, and the Altadena fire had started, and it was right there. Whoa. And so it was just a mountain of black smoke coming over the top of us there. And so I was like, let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's head north. And I had some friends in Moore Park, up in that area going towards Ventura that had horses, trying to find some place to go with some horses. And they're like, yeah, come on up here. So we went up there, stayed there a night, and then they cut all the power off up in that area because the winds were snapping power lines, and they were worried about fires. And after doing that a few nights in a row, I was like, let's just head east and go to Texas. So we just there's only so many friends you can show up with 5 horses and a bunch of dogs. Like, hey, we're gonna stay for a while.
Especially in California.
Yeah, we're like, let's just get out of here. And headed back, and you didn't know when we were going to make it back, and they, closed indefinitely or whatever. I was just like, man, I'm over it.
I got evacuated a bunch of times when I lived there, but the last one was 2018, and when the last one, we got out early. I came home from the Comedy Store, and we saw fire coming over the top of this hill, and it was probably 1 o'clock in the morning, and me and my wife were sitting there. I go, what do you think? And she's like, let's get the fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's just grab some shit, and maybe it'll come this way, maybe it won't. So it didn't burn the house down, but my neighbors, the front 3 neighbors, all lost their house, and my next door neighbor, his roof caught on fire. But my friend, who refused to leave, he stayed in the neighborhood and protected his house and guided firefighters. He brought the firefighters to that house and showed them that it just started on this guy's roof, and they hosed it down. They stopped it in its tracks, but it was pretty fucking bad. But
it's wild because it's going to burn. I mean, it's not a matter of
Yeah.
if it's just when, and I mean that's canyons have been burning like that for thousands of years, and even the Chumash were setting them on fire on purpose to get ahead of it, right, and controlling all of that stuff, and now there's just so many houses and communities back up in there. It's a tough thing, but when they hit, man, they're rolling through. How fast they come through. And those Santa Ana winds are blowing like that, and
it's just very surreal in person. You can watch it on the news and you kind of get a feeling of it. But when you're there and you're driving down the 101 and you look at the side of the highway and you see like these hills in the distance that are just covered in fire. Hundreds of yards of fields of fire just making their way over the top of this hill and burning houses. And
we saw it when the Palisades thing was from our house, there's kind of a little mountain that comes up on the back, and I hiked up there and was watching it, and you could see the smoke, and then you could like start seeing little flickers of the flames, and then it was just like somebody dumped gasoline on this thing, and I mean, the flames shot up hundreds of feet into the air, and my wife was on the balcony, of the house, and I'm kind of up on this little mountain. I'm looking in her eyes. I'm like, start packing up. I'll go hook up the horse trailer. I'll be upset. Let's load up and just. And, the wind was blowing like offshore then, so the fire's like on the coast, And just depending on how that wind is blowing, at the beginning it was blowing offshore. And then within a half an hour, it just shot up the coastline and just ripped up through Malibu and burned all that coast. Like that's the stuff that you always thought was the safest.
Right.
Yeah. And then the next day the wind shifts coming back onshore and it blows it back towards Burbank, going back up like the fourth up that way, and then the winds are shifting again and then coming back across, So I was amazed at through some of the fires that I've been through, seeing the firefighters up there. Those guys are incredible, man. Those helicopter pilots, the airplane pilots, seeing those tankers fly through there. I mean, it's just incredible what those guys can do. I mean, if it hadn't, they saved that whole canyon. Of Topanga at least, it's like, man, there's so much brush in there that probably needs to burn. That's been accumulating over years, and cutting those fire breaks and seeing them drop the retardant on the ridge lines and stuff, and watching the wind. It's just like, man, hats off to those guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the amount of damage that was done in that fire and how much more would have been done if it wasn't for the firefighters. That's how crazy it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, man. I met one of the helicopter pilots. I was on a flight somewhere, and we just happened to be sitting next to each other, and we were talking about it, and just, learning from him, about, the thermals that come up from underneath and trying to hold those helicopters in, in formation and all of that stuff, and how heavy they are when they're full.
Right.
And then as soon as you release all that water, whatever's in them, that, all of a sudden the power that they got, throttle's full throttle, when they're loaded down, and then they drop all that water, and then, trying to get back a hold of it. And
I never even thought of that.
And then you got
be an enormous
90 mile an hour winds blowing, and and I could see them from the house. There'd be like 2 or 3 helicopters that would come in, start dropping water, and then they would move out, and then the planes would come in, and then helicopters back in, and then you had the guys on the ground, trying to contain it as well. Just the coordinated effort between them, I can imagine the conversations there.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
It's so crazy that they didn't have the reservoirs ready.
Oh, dude, it's so sad.
I had Spencer Pratt on. He's running for mayor now. He was explaining it, like how bad it was.
Yeah.
How do you fuck that up that bad?
It's devastating to hear that. It's like, that stuff's coming.
Yeah.
It's just to not be prepared for that. It's just
complete
unacceptable.
Incompetence.
Yeah.
Just complete, total incompetence, and yet they still are there.
Yeah.
Like you're definitely not good at the job.
Gosh.
And yet you don't take any personal responsibility and you blame everybody else. And the problem, it's just fucking, it's a problem that happens every few years. Like you're going to get fires, period. The fact that you don't have a full reservoir is crazy. It's crazy. You
Yeah.
should dump all your resources into fixing that fucking reservoir. Stat. Get
I feel
that
like
shit filled up.
the residents are more prepared than anybody.
Yeah.
You know, because I think they just got to where you can't depend on it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I know our neighbors and stuff have a pretty good program in place. You know, we'll all get together and talk about, you know, who's got fire hoses and swimming pools with access to water and where, you know, evacuation plans, or, you know, there's some folks that will have horses, but they don't even have a horse trailer up there. And, you know, I'm like, okay,
boy.
I'll come get yours too, or whatever, you know, we need to do. And you kind of just have to have that mentality, I think, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's, you know what's really freaking me out about like the Palisades is what is in the ground now? You know, like how much toxic shit got melted into that ground, because think about how many people have electric cars now.
Well, all those old houses too. You know, what I'm talking about
Right.
all the materials that they're made out of, asbestos or lead, and I mean the stuff in the air that was, even if you know, you were several miles away from the actual fires, the wind and blowing all the ashes and the smoke and all that stuff over. I remember going back up in there, you know, weeks and just trying to get stuff out of the house or whatever when they let us back up, and you could still, it would just make your throat hurt, you know, breathing that air and stuff. So
Right,
it's bad stuff.
It's not just wood fire.
Yeah, no,
No.
like chemicals.
Yeah, wood fire's hard enough, but the chemicals, burnt TVs and computers and hard drives and electronics and refrigerators.
Treated lumber.
Yeah. All that shit's gonna get in your groundwater. Like it's on the surface. It's gonna rain. It's gonna seep through. Like, what happens to the water? Is anybody checking the water out there? You know, you gotta imagine.
I doubt it.
Especially like Topanga, I bet a lot of folks have wells. Don't you think?
I think there's some, you know, it's definitely all like on septic up there too, you know.
right.
I mean, all of the building code stuff's pretty crazy up there. I don't know. It's a mess.
I would just worry about even breathing the air that has the dust of all that shit in it. Like, I probably wouldn't want to live there anymore. If I was in a place where all the houses burnt to the ground and I knew there was toxic shit in the ground, I'd be like, hey, let's get the fuck out of here and sell our house to China.
Oh, man.
Because that was the other thing Spencer said. They're the ones who are the number one land buyers in the Palisades. It's China.
Is it gonna be a golf course resort up there before we know it?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Or affordable housing.
Yeah.
One or the other.
I don't know either.
I don't know, but it's just I really wonder what the long-term damage of all those chemicals in the ground is. It has to be pretty high.
Gotta be. You know, I don't know. You know, I was talking to some friends of mine out the other day that have grown up there, lived out there their whole lives, and, you know, going over the Channel Islands, you know, they got those oil platforms out there in the water, and there's been oil spills obviously throughout there through history, and but also like when you're surfing and stuff like that, there's oil that's been on top of the ground. It's just like so surface level. It's been there for millions of years, you know. And so I don't know, you know. It's like I'm sure all the toxic stuff that happens, like how long does it take for it to dilute? You know, I mean, there's not much rain or the wind or like what, you know. I'm not an expert on it, but I feel like Mother Nature takes pretty good care of herself. You know, we're the ones in trouble, right?
Right. Mother Nature will sort it out over time, but I just don't know how good it's going to be for the people that live there.
It can't be the long term, you know.
I have a buddy that has a house out there, and he lost his house and it burnt down, and I asked him about it, and he said, I think what they're going to do is take all the dirt out of their backyard and then replace the dirt. And I'm like, okay. I don't know if that's enough. Like, because what about his dirt? What about your neighbor's dirt? What about all the toxic shit that's in his dirt that's going to get down into your ground as soon as it rains? And also the
along
air.
with all the Roundup and everything else
Right.
is coming down.
Yeah.
You know, it's sad, man. You know, it's sad. That's just the kind of the state of it. It's like it seems like just it's so far of a mess that even the folks that do have answers, that do want to fix stuff, it just kind of becomes impossible for any solution. You know, it's like all the red tape and all the hoops and things and all the permits or whatever. Like you can't even, you know, the road's blocked. Okay, well, before we could even get somebody out here with a tractor to move the rocks, you got to call 10 other people to get it approved, and then the process, and then it's and that, and it's like, that's the part I'm just like, man, I wish I could just call Frank down the street with his bulldozer. We'll just go and move this right
permits.
now, you know? And it's like, you know?
Well, government has increased so much in California, and they just want more regulations so they could justify more government. And so they just regulate themselves to a place where people just want to leave.
Yeah.
They just go, look, I can't fucking do this anymore. Let me get out of here.
And it's expensive, man. It's so expensive to live there. You know?
Meanwhile, it's beautiful. It's such a great place. They fucked it up so hard.
It's paradise.
It's paradise.
The mountains within like 2-3 hours. You can be in the Sierras.
The
you can
beach
be in
or the
Joshua
mountains.
Tree National
you could go
Park, man.
skiing and then swim in the ocean on the same day.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
One of the beautiful places I've ever been. Yosemite. I mean, get out of town.
Yeah.
You know?
Incredible weather.
Kern River.
Yeah.
Like, man, it's beautiful.
But they got ruined. They got ruined with progressive politics and bureaucracy that just ramped up all the control they have over people to the point where you can't even buy flavored Zins. They banned blackjack. You can't have blackjack anymore. They just stopped blackjack in the casinos. They stopped flavored Zins.
God.
They just regulated into oblivion. There are all these people that want to be the mommy of the world and tell you what to do. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off with all your goddamn rules. You're just making your government bigger so you can justify all these fucking rules. And you need the rules for the government to sustain itself. So you just keep adding more rules and adding more government.
Yeah.
We were reading about it the other day. Like, what was the number that California's government went up by like 24% and their population went up by like 1%?
I know. Now we're running out of places to go.
I forget what the actual numbers were that we found, but it's
I'm always looking for hideouts, you know, to kind of get away from. It's like, man, you find a spot to go to, you kind of don't want to tell nobody about it.
I know, right?
You know,
that's what I hear about West Texas.
I think that was hard about Montana. You know, when I first started going up there years ago, I mean, it was just such a, and it still is. It's a paradise. It's just, you know. And I think that's probably what a lot of people are upset about. It lived up there. It's like, man, the secret got out a little bit, and I can understand that. But
I get it from their perspective.
Where's the next,
they got to let that go.
Where's the next place, you know?
The thing about Montana, though, or like Wyoming, another example, is that winter will thin the herd.
It's like West Texas. Like, that's funny. Same kind of thing, like, you know, Marfa and out in that area. You know, I grew up all out there going to junior rodeos and all kinds of stuff, and it was just ranches, you know, and you know, local diners and stuff like that. And, you know, I hear people going out there and buying houses and, you know, all that stuff. Then they go out there for like a week and they realize that the only thing open at night's the Dairy Queen. And they're heading back to New York pretty quick, you know?
Yeah. But the thing,
you're right about Montana. Those winters will
winter,
thin them out. Yeah.
The winter gets you. The winter's rough. It's cold.
Yeah.
We were, the first time I ever went hunting was with Ranella. That's where I got that mule deer that's on the table right there. And it was 9 degrees in October, and we're camping. And so we're sleeping on the ground at 9 degrees. I'm like, bro, how did these fucking people... And you go by these old homesteads. So they were giving land out there for people. You can get a chunk of land, just start farming on it, and the government was encouraging people to move there. But it's all this like muddy ground. Like the ground is like mucky. Like when you hike in it, after a while, your boots are so heavy because they're just
clay,
thick with this clay. Yeah, just muck all over your boots, and so it's not fertile. It's not good, like in the Missouri Breaks, like that area. It's not good for growing things. So you find these abandoned homesteads. It's really eerie, man. You just think like this family that came out here in like the 1800s and they tried to set up shop and maybe got killed by Indians and maybe
all the way. I think about my family, and I've got stories, of them settling in New Mexico and. Coming out on a covered wagon with maybe a steer and a pig, and then like, here's a bunch of acres, and you got to prove it up, and dig a hole in the ground is what they're living in, a dugout, and dig a hole in the ground. That's where you're living, and you try to build a ranch out of it. And I always laugh. I was talking to family or my grandparents. I was like, why did y'all stop here? You just like, you were so beat down. You're like, oh, this is the driest, flattest place, you know?
Yeah.
But we're here, the most roughest. You know, I was like, it's only maybe another 1,000 miles out to California, or just keep going. They're like, nope, this is it. We're done, you know?
Yeah, I guess people
Tough,
didn't
though,
know what they
man.
were going to find if they kept
Yeah.
going either. Like, you want to keep going for like another month?
Oh, and yeah, just miles and miles of more desert and
Yeah.
no water. You know?
I mean, how long
Yeah.
would that wagon trail take?
Oh,
to get-
weeks. Yeah, you know, even just like
Has to be.
Missouri, to Texas, and then out to even like just going through West Texas to get to, you know, southeast New Mexico and all that. And you're in, you know, that's just rough country, and the people have always been tough out there
And you're
to
a
survive
sitting
out
duck.
there. Yeah.
You're a sitting duck. You're slow moving with
Yeah.
a wagon, pulling the horse, and you got all your shit in the wagon, and they just looking at you
Yeah.
from the hills.
Yeah. Wasn't glamorous.
No.
You know. I know my granddad was a pretty tough old guy and as real a cowboy as you'd ever want to know or meet, you know, but he wasn't really one to ever brag or, you know, talk or fantasize or romanticize about the cowboy stuff, you know, because it wasn't romantic then, you know, it was
Right.
survival and it was rough and it was work and you had no running water. And I remember him having a conversation with this guy, and he was like a tech guy, you know, invented all this website shit or whatever, and he was asking my granddad, he said, you know, what's the most, you know, important invention of your lifetime? And I think he was expecting my granddad to say like the computer or the internet, and my granddad said refrigeration was the most important invention, you know, 'cause
Yeah.
when he was growing up, he was like, they had no way to keep their food cold, you know, other
Right.
than like a root cellar, you kept it underground, you know, so it was just a perspective, you know. I think everybody was surprised to hear it, you know.
Well, I think people are so accustomed to electricity and so accustomed to things like refrigeration.
Yeah.
You just like,
Or running water, yeah.
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 I mean, when there was no refrigeration, you had to eat what you had, you know, like that day, and then the next day you had to get something else.
Yeah.
And unless you knew a place that was an ice house, you know, that would get a giant chunk of ice and you could have an ice box and stick it in there and cool things, like, you're fucked.
Yeah. You're on your own.
Yeah. Well, you had to learn how to dry meat. That was a lot of it. Make pemmican, dry meat, make things that'll survive and last. And, you know, that's also how market hunting almost wiped out all the deer in this country because people needed fresh meat every day. So they were just shooting everything that existed.
Yeah.
And then finally they started looking around and going, hey, we lost all the elk. There's no more deer left. Like, let's make some fucking regulations on this shit. And they stopped market hunting.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
It's interesting, yeah.
Beginning of the 1800s, by, you know, the time, I guess, when did they start doing regulations in terms of hunting regulations in this country? Because obviously they wiped out almost entirely the American bison. They were almost gone completely. And, you know, a lot of that was just for tongues.
Nah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
would send them back east. They would pickle their tongues.
Didn't Steve Rinella have something
Yes.
like a show on it? My buddy was telling me
He's
about
got a great
that. I haven't
book,
seen it
too.
yet. They said really interesting. He's talking about the history of the bison and hunting and all of that, yeah.
Yeah, I think his book's called American Buffalo, but it's really good. First hunting regulations appeared in colonial laws in the 1600s, mainly as seasonal closed seasons for certain game like deer. In terms of nationwide U.S. law, the first major federal game protection statute was the Lacey Act of 1900, which targeted commercial and market hunting and interstate trade in illegally taken wildlife. Yeah, there was elk in every state.
Yeah.
And we wiped them out. And there was deer in every state. But now there's more deer than there ever has been before, which is interesting. Congress passed the Lacey Act. When modern regulations start, so the 1900s. Most states had game and fish commissions, hunting seasons, bag limits, and license requirements, all reinforced by federal laws like the Lacey Act and later migratory bird protections. Well, it's amazing that they did that. We have an amazing system too. Like the fact that the United States has so much public land, there's so many different places where people can go and they can hike, they can whitewater raft, they can fish, they can hunt, they can camp. I mean, we're unlike any country when it comes to that. It's like the amount of land that we have that's available to Americans that it's public for everybody is fucking incredible.
Yeah. Man, being up in Montana, and New Mexico's like that too, and California, but up in Montana, what I love, staying in that wilderness area, like that little cabin that I stayed in, probably didn't have much land with the cabin, but man, there's thousands and thousands of acres of wilderness public land with dirt roads everywhere. Man, I would, on those days off that I had, I would just drive back in there for miles, man, and just see the most beautiful country, and I'd haul my horse back in the way of the trailheads and just go explore stuff, and you'd go over one ridge into the next, and there's a waterfall, and there's another drainage, and it's just like, and this is the wilderness area too. This isn't even a national park, I was like, man, this is as beautiful country as I've ever seen.
Did you run into any grizzlies?
I never did. I was always on my toes about it. And I'd talk, knowing Remy up there, he knew that area really well. So I'd kind of ask him spots to go check out and about bears and stuff. And he said, man, there weren't too many grizzlies back in there, but you never know, especially coming over from Idaho and stuff like that. So I never did. I've run into some black bears, never in any wolves and all that, but I don't know, maybe being horseback too. I don't know, a lot of those places I never did, but I definitely had my eyes open.
Yeah, that's another animal that they want to list again and make them available for hunting, particularly in Montana and Wyoming. They just have a lot of grizzlies. Yeah. They have a lot, and people don't want you to shoot them. They think of it as trophy hunting or whatever it is.
It's tough, man, but man, you live, like you said, like those folks that live back up in there, they all they have is their neighbors and people to depend on, and it's like, man, you get mauled by a bear taking your trash out, or something like that. That's what your experience is with them, and, everybody wants to keep them as pets until they're in the backyard with you.
They don't play by the rules. Yeah. They don't play by the rules, and they're 900 pounds. Good luck. A 900-pound giant fucking wild animal that eats everything it can.
Yeah, even like that lion hanging around my house. I was like, man, cool, you're fine, but why don't you go on down the road,
Yeah.
I don't need you in my backyard.
The thing is that you can't do anything about it either. In Texas, you could just shoot them.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we don't have that problem.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't have wild monsters living in your yard.
No. And you should have the right to decide that for yourself.
100%. Not only that, they're going to be fine. There's still going to be plenty of them.
Yeah.
Okay, but it'll probably be a more healthy number if they get whacked whenever they eat someone's dog.
Yeah, and have a healthy respect for coming in your backyard or coming after your animals or your kids. Yeah.
Yeah. They should understand that. But just like we're so goofy, we make laws to protect them that don't protect us. Like, help me out. Like, do you love animals more than people? Like, I love animals, but I'm on team people.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Everybody else is cool, but team people first.
Yeah.
We got monsters in our neighborhood? No. We got to kill the monsters so that the kids can play outside. You don't have to worry about them getting eaten.
Yeah, me too. I mean, growing up ranching or farming or whatever, I mean, that's your job, is to take care of animals, Yeah. It's animal husbandry. That's your job. I mean, to take care and provide for these animals, to provide food for your family, and the wildlife that's around it, it's like, and to take care of the land and the dirt and the water and the grasses and all of that stuff has to be supporting each other to make it all work, And at the end of the day, I just feel like we've just lost touch.
It's cities.
With that,
It's urban environments. It's unnatural environments that have given people this delusional idea of what our relationship is with nature. And, people just think food comes from a restaurant. And the ground is for streets. And you drive around.
Sidewalks. Just pave it all.
It's all just this delusional perspective that comes from that sort of urban existence. And I just think that's why people that live in the country and live in, environments like Alaska, where you're confronted by nature, they're like more interesting people. They're more robust. They're cooler. Were you saying out there earlier that you rode bulls?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dude. How many times?
Shoot, I started when I was a kid, riding steers when I was like 10 in the junior rodeos, and then
You were 10 years old and someone let you ride a fucking steer? Really? That's so
it was just like
crazy.
it was like Little League baseball, where I grew up.
So a steer is a bull that doesn't have its nuts.
Yeah.
And so how much less do they kick when they don't have their nuts?
Oh, they're pretty docile.
Is this you?
Oh,
you found
where'd y'all
video.
find it? Yeah.
How old are you here?
I was like 17. This is in Monterrey, Mexico, actually.
Wow. Why in Mexico? Look at you, dog. Damn. That's crazy. Damn, dude, you're good. And you got off without getting stomped, too.
Yeah.
Is it just knowing when to release?
Yeah, you gotta know when to get off. That's for sure.
And right there, you're like, that's a wrap.
Yeah, he kind of bucked me off there. He kind of had me over to the side there, but that's a good time to check out. There's like that gray zone, Either that or you hang on and you end up underneath them.
You started out when you were 10 years old, though. How wild are your parents? They're like, yeah, that's a good age.
Yeah, well, they ranched and grew up out there, and my uncle rode bulls professionally, and
oh, really?
Yeah, and that's kind of how I got into it too. I looked up to him a lot and see pictures of him riding bulls, and then it was just around, and I was like, I want to go try that, and man, I just got the bug for it, like super young. I was like, just ate up with it. Just
wow, from 10 years old, that's nuts.
Yeah.
And so how do you teach someone how to fall off of a bull without getting stomped when they're 10?
Well, when you're riding those little steers, a lot of time they cut bulls and turn them to steers because it makes them a lot more docile.
What are you talking?
Steers are, typically like 600 pounds, 700 pounds, compared to a 1,500-pound bull that's aggressive and, back that wide and horns like that, They're like little steer, I remember my dad or uncle would get in the chute with me and hold their horns, and like the time they just kind of run out there and jump and kick and
not that
fall
bad.
off on the side. Yeah, not too bad. And then you kind of graduate up into like the junior bulls and then the bigger bulls and then the harder they buck, So there's kind of different levels you can progress as you go. But it was a lot different deal back then when I was riding. It was really before the PBRs started. There was no helmets, there was no vests, there was like none of that stuff. It was just old school rodeo, But at the same time, I say that, but it's evolved in such a sport now. Like the bulls are just so much ranker now than they were back then. It's like now they're breeding them like racehorses and the genetics where every one of those bulls bucks, and like you got to go to get on 3 or 4 of them in the night. Back when I was doing it, we'd go to they were still kind of full rodeos with all the other events, and out of 15 or 20 bulls, there might be 1 or 2 in there that were like bad to get on, that would hurt you. The rest of them were pretty rideable, to say so, and. We're smoking cigarettes and drinking beer back behind the chute, so that kind of a thing. We weren't training and doing yoga and like all these guys are today. But I loved it. I had so much fun, and I loved the road part of it. Get in the truck with your best buds and go down the road on the weekends, and there's always a band playing, and it was so much fun. I loved the culture of it, and it was just good times,
How many times do you think you've rode bulls?
I mean, I rode till I was about 23.
From 10 to 23?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That was all I ever wanted to do. I was like,
really?
I wanted to just ride bulls, yeah. And, I rode in high school. I rode junior rodeos, rode bulls in high school. And then I went to Tarleton State in Stephenville and rode bulls for Tarleton. And then I got my pro card for a couple of years. And that was when, like, the PBR was, like, starting up and all of that, and
wow.
It got
I just saw a
intense.
picture of you backwards on one.
What, Jamie?
There's one picture I just lost. He was backwards on it.
Oh, yeah, I was probably getting dusted. Oh, no, that's not
Oh,
me.
that's
That's not you. Okay.
That's not backwards.
That guy
either.
is riding backwards.
It is.
Yeah,
Oh, it is
yeah.
backwards.
don't know if that's on purpose.
That seems like a ridiculous choice.
He pulled it off if he did. Yeah.
What a terrible choice. Yeah.
It was cool though. I loved it, man. I loved it.
How do you go from that to anything else? Like, how do you stop riding bulls and eventually become an actor and a singer?
It was all very much kind of a natural progression, you know. Even
Really?
since I was a kid at the junior rodeos, there was always a dance afterward and a band playing, you know. And it was a very much a family, community deal, you know. Like you go to these towns and, you know, the rodeo was going on, and then the dance, the street dance, and food and music, and, you know, growing up listening to bands play, especially in Texas, you know, you got all the guys like Gary P. Nunn. I remember he always played the dance halls, and you get Robert Earl Keen and some of the, you know, hearing those bands. And I moved to Laredo, Texas when I was like 16 or 17 when my dad and my mother had bought me a guitar, and didn't know how to play it much, and walked into this place my dad was living at, and he was playing dominoes with these guys, and this guy saw my guitar, and he's like, yeah, you know how to play that thing? I said, no. And he said, well, let me see it. And he picked it up and he played this killer like mariachi song called La Malagueña. And I was just fascinated with it. I was just like, wow, I can't believe he made that guitar sound like that, you know? I've been dragging that thing around for a couple of years. I didn't even know how to tune it up. And he's like, you want to learn how to play this guitar? And I said, yeah. And he said, let me show you this song. And he taught me the Malagueña. It had a couple little parts, you know, a finger picking part, a strumming part. And it really kind of gave me that foundation, you know, just kind of those few little tools. And then I went up to Stephenville to ride bulls at Tarleton after that, and a couple of other friends that I'd met there that rodeoed could play the guitar a little bit, and they had bands that played every weekend in the town. There was a little bar there called City Limits where all these bands would come play, like Jason Boland and the Cross Canadian Ragweed guys and Pat Green and Robert Earl Keen, like all the Texas guys would come play, you know. So I was like, I went from being on the border to kind of just mostly like the Corridos and Tejano bands that I would see, which was really cool. But when I got up there, I was like, oh man, there's all these like cool kind of song, you know, guys writing the original music and songs and playing in bands, and we'd go watch them all the time. And as I was still rodeoing, the only song I knew was that Malagueña tune. So I was like, I got to come up with some new stuff. This is all I know how to play, you know. So I went and got a book of chords to teach myself some new chords on the guitar, and we just learn one or two at a time, and I'd start making up songs about our adventures on the weekends, you know. A lot of it was just sitting in the back of the truck and being in places where you didn't have radio signal or, you know, nothing to really listen to. You're tired of listening to the same old stuff, and I'd make up songs, and then whatever town we would get to, my buddies would be like, man, play that song you were singing in the back seat, you know. And so that's how the whole songwriting thing started. And then I ended up getting a job working for a guy named Mac Altizer. He had a rodeo company called Bag Company Rodeo in Del Rio. And I'd ridden bulls at some of his rodeos and knew him. My uncle had knew him, you know, over the years. And so I was kind of familiar with that whole thing. And started working for him on the ranch and helping with some of the rodeo stuff and still riding bulls. And he found out that I could play the guitar and sing a few songs. And he always had a party at the rodeo. He was kind of notorious and famous for having like just awesome parties. And he's like, man, all right, Bingham, get your guitar. You're going to play like the after party, you know, and pull the flatbed trailer up there for the hospitality tent for all the contestants after the rodeo. And those are like the first, he really encouraged me to like start playing for people and doing that. And then it would just spill over into the bars afterwards, after the rodeo, and everybody would end up going to the bar, and they're always like, Bingham, bring your guitar with you. And I started getting gigs in the bars. The bars would ask me if I wanted to come back and play. And just after, like, I feel like a few years of that, it was just like, you know, I was kind of a weekend warrior riding bulls. I was definitely not making a living doing it. I always had to have a day job during the week, you know, either working on the ranch or doing something. And I started getting to where I could go to these bars and make like $100 in tips, you know, within a couple of hours, and get free beer and free food. And I was like, man, this is almost as much as I made all day digging holes with the shovel, you know. So it didn't take me long to figure out that was pretty cool. And I was just like, I'm going to stick with it, you know.
What an organic sort of a journey, you know, like a natural progression.
Yeah, and I didn't have high expectations, you know, but I just like, And I was talking about kind of community in this Austin area and in Texas in general. It's just like, man, people were so supportive then of just like, if you had a song to play it, people love live music. They're like, yeah, get up and play, you know, like Mac with the rodeo company and all the guys that worked there, Dave Jennings and Casey and Smurt. There's a whole crew, the Bad Company crew from those days. And they always had kind of the Bad Company house band too, where everybody would get up and try to play a song. And it's just like, man, we don't care if it's any good or not. Just get up there and play. We're all in it together. And there were so many like places that were like that I don't think if I was in that environment, I probably would have never pursued it. You know, I just had so many people, you know, supporting you and encouraging you to try it. And it took me a long time, you know, to work stuff out and learn, because I didn't have any really formal musical background or lessons or training. I really just learned it on the road and playing in bars and from other musicians. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
So no lessons at all, just kind of figuring it out along the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the guy taught me the La Malagueña there, but then after that it was just, you know, anybody else who had a guitar and might know a song, you know, I'm like, oh, what chord? How do you play that chord? You know, like, oh, you play it like this, you know. Yeah.
Wow. So how many years were you doing that before you got Yellowstone?
Oh gosh, for a while. I mean, I think my, you know, I was 22 or something like that in Stephenville. You know, Ryan Bull's starting to play songs, trying to play gigs. After, you know, ended up moving down here to New Braunfels in the Austin area, playing music for a while, and then ended up going out to Los Angeles and playing, and then hit the road with a band for, I think I had 4 or 5 albums or so, you know, out, you know, and been touring for 5 or 6 years. I think, how old was I, like, when Yellowstone started? Like 36, 37. So, yeah, I'd been doing the music stuff for a long time.
And so how did you go from music to Yellowstone? Like, did you do any acting before that?
No, I'd done a film with Jeff Bridges years ago called Crazy Heart, and wrote some songs for that movie. And that was really my own
that
thing.
Movie.
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
It was pretty cool. You know, I was just like, Jeff Bridges plays a musician in the show, and we're like the backup band at the bowling alley for one of the scenes, you know, which was really cool. And then written some songs for some other films and some TV shows since then. And I met a guy named John Linson out in Los Angeles. He's a producer, and him and his dad Art Linson, they did like Sons of Anarchy, a bunch of shows and a bunch of great movies. And he introduced me to Taylor. And Taylor was, I think it was that movie Wind River, his first movie. You know, I'd met Taylor and just kind of talk about music and stuff, and he wanted me to write a song for Wind River. And I'd given it a shot a couple times, never really had anything that fit for what he wanted, but he ended up using a song that I'd already written. And we just kind of kept in touch. And then when the Yellowstone thing came up, he got in touch again about writing some songs for the show. And then he learned that I used to do all the rodeo stuff, I think, and grew up ranching. And he's like, well, shoot, you can do a lot of this stuff. I got to find a way to get you in the show, you know? And it literally went from the conversation. He was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with you, but I'll find something to do with you, you know? And he literally said, he's like, you know, if you do good, you know, he goes, if you suck, I'll kill you off. If you do good, I'll keep you on. Something like that, you know? And I'm like, yeah,
so you
good,
had
good,
no formal acting, like, training or anything?
No, not at all.
That's what's amazing, dude.
No.
You're really good.
Oh, I appreciate that. You know, I get to kind of play a cowboy and be a little bit of myself.
Yeah,
I appreciate
but
it.
That role's got some complexity to it. It's not just a cowboy. It's like you've got some complicated scenes, you know, some emotional scenes, some deep scenes, and you're really good, man.
Thank you.
That's impressive.
I appreciate that. I enjoyed it. You know, I hadn't done much acting at all, and I got to give a lot of credit to the actors that are on the show too. You know, those folks that have really studied it and paid their dues learning that craft. You know, they really create the environment. You know, especially for me not knowing much about it. You know, and just kind of being a part of the scene. Like, they're so good that they make you react in a certain way.
Right.
You know,
right.
they know how to get it out of you.
Yeah.
Whether, you know, Cole and Kelly
Yeah.
and Luke and all those folks,
Yeah.
you know, they know how to set up the scene and they know what they're doing. So they already kind of have the whole thing set up. And so when I walk into a scene and they say they're lying to me, it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I got to answer.
Right.
I'm just like kind of like naturally, answering that,
Right, right. Yeah. It's like if you work with a really good actor, sometimes you forget they're acting. You're like, like, oh yeah, we're acting. Like you seem like this is really happening.
Yeah. For me, like I think there was moments when I thought it was really happening.
How long did it take before you got comfortable like doing that on camera?
Still not.
Really?
Yeah, still not. Yeah.
Well, you play it off good.
Well, thanks. I think some of it comes from the riding bulls. You learn how to channel that anxiety or fear into just like, oh, okay, it's go time. Let's just like pull it together and channel that.
If you could ride a bull, I think you could kind of do basically anything.
Man, I that's one thing my uncle taught me when I was young. He was really quick to be like, man, it doesn't matter how strong you are. It's not about it. It's all mental. It's all in your mind, and it's all. It's not. I think I can. It's. I know I can, and I will.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, if you don't believe that every time you go put your rope on one of those on their backs, he's like, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
He said you don't. It's not being cocky. It's just being confident. And believing in yourself and having that power of mind over matter.
Yeah, if you could do that, acting's easy.
And take that in anything in life. You
Yeah.
know? And I do, because I definitely have moments where, I'm like, whew, okay, take a deep breath. It's go time. Let's go,
Well, especially having more than a decade of doing that with bulls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's so uncontrollable. Like, it is like you're at the mercy of fate and how this plays out.
Yeah.
And you have this enormous beast, and you've chosen to scare the shit out of yourself, get on top of this thing, and try to ride it.
You've chosen to join the dance.
Yeah. If you can do that,
if
you can do that and be successful at that, I kind of think you could do anything. Yeah. I think that I mean, I wouldn't want my kid to do it at 10, but fuck, it's probably if they could survive. Pretty valuable.
I laugh. I really picked two of the easiest professions, like riding bulls and playing music. Like
right, two that have the least amount of success ratio.
Impossible tasks.
Right. Well, did you ever get any serious injuries?
I was fortunate. Like not serious. But there was one of the worst I got knocked all these teeth out, and I got jerked down one night in Weatherford, and took my lip off, and my teeth went through down here, and these are all fake up here, and then my lip was just hanging by a thread. It didn't knock me out, which was wild though. I got on this bull, and I remember it was in Weatherford, Texas, and it's got a Butler Arena there, and he had this little Angus bull there. Didn't have horns on him, little muley, and usually you can go up to the guys that own the bulls, and a lot of the bulls have patterns, that they'll do over and over, so you can kind of talk to the stock contractor, the guys that own them, be like, hey, what's this bull generally do? And he's like, most of the time they'll take 2 jumps out and they spin to the left, or they take 2 jumps and they go to the right, or they just, they'll jump kick around and make a circle. And he goes, I don't know. He's like, the last 2 times I bucked, he hadn't been ridden. He usually jumps out there and just spins right in the gate. And he said, nobody's really ridden him past 3 or 4 seconds. So he goes, I don't know what he's going to do after that. And sure enough, that's what happened. I got on him, and he jumped out and just got it on right there in the gate, just spinning right there. And I rode him through it like 3 or 4 rounds. And after I rode him, like I think the bully didn't know what to do next. He got a little frustrated, and he just stopped. And just stopped dead still and just blowing and just, just mad. And you never really want to jump off of them when they're still like that, because you'll fall right beside them, So you want them to have a little momentum, so when you're checking out, you can get away from them.
Right.
And so I spurred him a little bit to get him to jump. So when he jumped, I could jump off. But when I spurred him, it just jumped off straight up off the ground like a cat off all fours. And when he when he jumped up like that, I, kind of rocked me back like that. My hand's still tight in the rope. And then when he came down, he just brought all that, jerked me down with the force, and I came forward, and he threw his head back, and I just head-butted him.
Oh!
And when he did, and then my hand was still caught in the rope, and then he took off running around and just drugged me around and just stomped the crap out of me. for a bit, and I finally got loose, and I remember running over to the fence, and I just, I kind of had my arms on the fence, and I could see all the blood just kind of pouring down all over me, and one of the bullfighters ran up, and he looks at me and goes, "Oh, buddy." He's like, "Whoo." And
so they have to stitch your lip back on?
yeah, and the shock was just, I didn't feel anything.
Wow.
Like I was just like in shock, and I was like, "Oh man," I remember like my girlfriend was there from high school and my buddy, and we drove to the little, they're like, "You want us to call an ambulance?" I was like, "Nah, I don't have health insurance. I don't have to call no ambulance," and got in my buddy's car, and we drove over to the emergency room in Weatherford, and I go in, and the nurse, she's just like, "Oh man," she's like, "We can't do anything for you here. You're gonna have to go to like Dallas to like trauma. You're gonna have to get like an oral surgeon to put you back together." And she goes, "You want me to, get you an ambulance there?" And I was like, "No, I think we can make it, And she's like, she gave me some pain pills. She goes, "Don't take these now." She goes, "Hold on to these, and then when you get to Dallas, then take them, because you're probably gonna have to wait, before they can, because it'll be 3 or 4 in the morning, before they can get somebody in there to see us." And sure enough, we got to Dallas, and I'm just sitting there in the wait room, and I had a rag, and I was just holding my mouth together, and the shock wore off, man, and then it's, I was starting to feel it. Took those pain meds, and then the doctor came in and held me back and gave me a big shot in the roof of my mouth, tried to numb everything, and just, I think it took them longer to clean it all up, pull all the hair and dirt out of there and sew me up, and it was an ordeal, for sure. For months after that, getting the dental work done, all that crap.
So how was the lip hanging off?
It bit it all. It would have came all the way off. It was just hanging on right here by the side, so it was just hanging down.
And so they just had to stitch the lower part to the upper part and put it all together again?
Yeah, just all across, right through the middle. And kind of, if I shave, I got a big scar that kind of goes down there.
Wow.
And then they went through down here. So I got some stitches down there. And then most of the stitches were all in my gums and all of that.
And so they had to put like posts and implants and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That shit takes forever, huh?
Kind of knocked the front 4 out, and then it just dominoed the rest of them.
Riding bulls with no health insurance is wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was just life back then for me, And I think going into the music stuff was like, I don't know. I just wasn't really scared about it, or even the expectations of making it. Or, I mean, to me at the time, I had a truck and a camper on it, and I was like, I got no bills, I got no responsibilities. I'm just like, go make $100 a night playing music in a bar. I was like, this is the dream, I'm like, I made it.
Yeah. Well, I think when you've done something super, super difficult, everything else seems easier. And if you've done what you did with riding bulls for that long, like the music business is like, that's the worst that could happen.
Yeah. Even the travel part, you
Yeah.
know, like, in the early days of playing, when I really decided I was going to try to make a run and play, and it was like, oh, what, we got to get in the van and go drive around and play in bars, And I was like, we've been doing that rodeoing for years, we sleep in the back of the truck or whatever, and it was fun for us. We loved it.
Yeah.
So the idea of like starving on the road playing in a band, playing music, I was like, let's go, and getting a guaranteed paycheck every night, Like,
right, the gratitude you must have.
The riding bulls, I mean, half the time, you walked away with nothing.
Right.
A busted lip, nothing,
Yeah, and no health insurance, and you're risking your life,
Mm-hmm.
and there's not a bunch of people that love you.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great base to start out from, I mean, it sounds like it's almost like the universe engineered this path for you to go down. Like if you wanted to pick a path that would bring you to where you are right now, it is the perfect set of circumstances.
I look at it all the time, just from an outside perspective, I guess, and just like, wow, how in the world did all this come together, and just a lot of luck and perseverance or whatever. And I wouldn't say I haven't worked hard at it, I feel like I have and all that, but there's a lot of luck out there and a lot of good people too, A lot of good people helped me out along the way and gave me gas money and, gave me a place to sleep or place to eat, and helped us get other gigs and other. I mean, I remember going from one town to the next and not having gas money to get to the next, and having no plan other than like, let's just head west or head east, and you'd go play at a bar, and sure enough, there'd be somebody there that were they like, oh man, y'all should come back to my house. We'll have bonfire and play some songs. And he's like, oh, my brother's got a bar in Phoenix, and he's like, call them on your way out. We'd go there, and we'd always like chop firewood or wash dishes, or would mow your lawn or wash your car on the way too, to get gas money and keep on going.
Wow.
So that was just kind of how. And I felt like I learned early, if you were willing to help yourself, there's people would help you all day long.
I think luck is a factor, but it's only a factor if you've already had all those other experiences. Yeah. Like, think about it. If you hadn't ridden bulls, you hadn't gone through all the ranching, all the hard labor, all the different things, then, like, you probably wouldn't have capitalized on that luck the same way.
No, not at all. Huh?
Your character wouldn't be the same.
No.
That's like part of who you are is the character that you've developed from what you've done.
It kind of conditioned me to do it in a way, in a big way.
And it seems like it's your life. It almost like it's engineered for this to happen the way it happened. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of crazy.
It's been cool, man. I feel
very storybook.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very like movie.
Yeah.
Like a plot in a movie. Guy who's a cowboy, bull rider, starts singing songs. People are like, hey, you should probably do this for a living. And then someone's like, hey man, you should be on TV. And the next thing you know, you're on one of the biggest hits in the world.
I feel like that's that song, one day they're gonna put me in the movies.
Yeah.
Buck Owens.
Yeah.
I was like, how am I living this thing right now? It's like, God. I know I meet people all the time. They're like, they can't really believe where I'm from or whatever. They just think it's some like made up story. I'm like, yeah, all right, man.
Well, it seems like
wild.
a story that someone would make up if they wanted to pretend to be a cowboy.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people have.
I bet, right? I bet. Yeah.
And a lot of people still do.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Uh-huh. That's funny. That's like stolen valor almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
think like in all kinds of stuff, professions or whatever, people pretend to be what it is. Would you mind if I went to the restroom real quick?
Oh, no,
quick...
not at all.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
I want to keep talking about, I don't want to stop this.
Let's pause, take a leak. Yeah. We'll be right back, folks. And we're back. Yeah, it's kind of funny that people would want to fake the life that you've lived, but that is such a romantic story. Like it's such a movie that it makes sense that people want to fake it. It's got to be weird walking around like having lived a life that people would want to fake and pretend that they lived.
It is sometimes, and it's like I remember when I really started playing music and stuff. I mean, I wore a cowboy hat all the time. That's what I rode bulls, and it was very much my identity. But no, cowboy stuff wasn't really cool then. I feel like in the early 2000s and all of that. And there wasn't a big Americana scene or any of that kind of stuff. And definitely going to New York or going to Los Angeles and touring around, I would be the only one wearing a cowboy hat, And I remember, I think the first time, or one time I was in L.A., we were out on the Santa Monica Pier, and there was a guy that had like the one-man band thing, out there, and there's all these tourists on the pier, and I'm just like out there checking out the scenery and just minding my own business, and this guy gets on the microphone, and he just points over at me and goes, "Oh, Brokeback Mountain." And everybody on the pier turned around and looked at me, and they're just pointing at me and laughing at me, and I'm just like, okay, So it was like that was the association with the cowboy hat at the time,
That's hilarious. Yeah, they changed cowboys for a while.
Now it's a whole new ball game,
Threw a whole new monkey wrench into that legend.
But now playing, and man, I'm so stoked to see all these new bands out there, and like so many young folks playing actual instruments. I felt like for a long time there was so electronic and DJs and all that stuff. And
well, there's a giant country comeback that's going on right now, kind of nationwide. I'm sure you love "Open the Gates," the Zach Bryan song.
Yeah,
that's such a great bull riding song.
Man, they got some great tunes, man.
Yeah, that's a great bull riding song. But there's so many great musicians out there now, and also who've lived like different but very like Charlie Crockett. What
Yeah.
a fascinating dude that guy is. Like just kind of performing on the streets and
Yeah.
you know, just being kind of a vagabond, traveling around, and then finally catches and people are like, damn, this music is fucking great, man.
Yeah, like wearing it on their sleeves, you know, and like and having the confidence to. I think people have always been. I think there has been plenty of folks out there, you know, writing from the heart and so to speak, and all of that, and you know, having a certain integrity to the things that they're saying, and want to, you know, the truth in their speaking into their songs and things like that. And now there's a lot more of a platform to support them, you know, and like people like, oh wow, there's a bunch of this stuff out there, you know.
There's also an appreciation for it because I think we're all fearful that people like you won't exist in the future. Because it seems like a guy like you, you know, bull riding, living on a ranch, like that, singing songs in bars, like that almost is like a thing of the past.
Oh, very much.
But it's so
Yeah,
romantic to people that, like, when we meet a guy like you in real life, you're like, oh, keep him around. You know, like, you want to make sure that people like you still exist. It's a
Thanks, I
very
appreciate
exciting
it,
thing for people to have a person who's lived an authentically interesting life. And authentically out of the box life. It's not a normal life. Like if you meet a million people, the odds of you meeting one guy who used to bull ride and then started singing in bars with his friends and was happy living on the road, and now all of a sudden he's on a fucking gigantic television show. It's not even 1 in a million.
It's strange because sometimes I meet people and like, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, I grew up just like you know, and then I realize like, I don't think I did. I kind of have to think about it myself. I was like,
no,
oh,
you
man,
definitely didn't. You rode a bull when you were
you
fucking
know?
10, dude,
Yeah.
okay? Most people when they're 10, they're playing with G.I. Joes.
Yeah.
You know, they're not
Yeah.
riding bulls. That's a very unusual setup for the rest of your life, you know? If you
Yeah.
can, I think if you do some things difficult when you're really young, you get accustomed to fear, you get accustomed to anxiety and nerves, and the thing that, I mean, that is like the mark of a man. Like a man is his ability to be in a very high stress situation and keep his shit together, you know, and to have gone through a lot of that when you're very young. Like riding a bull at 10 is crazy. To gone through that when you're very young, it just develops the kind of character that allows you to kind of do anything in life. And I think most men see that and they wish they were like that.
I remember a moment, you know, it was really when I was, you know, riding steers, and then I made that transition to the big bulls, you know. And it wasn't like, oh, here's this little steer, and then there's an in between, and then there's the big. It was like this little steer, and then this big bull, you know. And it was a junior rodeo in Odessa, Texas, and it was my first year to ride junior bulls, and I entered the bull ride, and my uncle was there with me, and they started running the bulls up into the chutes, and they were big. They were like backs that wide and horns sticking out the side of the chutes, you know. And they were big, but they didn't buck that hard, you know. They just kind of jump kick down, but they were still big, you know. And like I remember like scared and like in tears, you know, I was scared. And my uncle, you know, was super cool about it. He wasn't like, you have to do this or you have to do. He's like, man, whatever you want to do, you know, you want to pack it up, we'll get out of here right now. It's like, this is either for you or it's not for you, you know? And I remember just him telling me, you want to take like 20, 30 minutes and just kind of think about it, and whatever you want to do, we'll make happen, you know? And I did. I kind of walked around there for a bit, and I just had some kind of like, I knew I would regret it if I didn't do it, didn't try it. You know, there was something in me where, like, because I slept it, I dreamt about it. You know, I loved it, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna do this. You know, and I put my rope on him and had all the support there that I needed in that moment. And they opened the gate, and this big old high horn bull, you know, he just turned and kind of jumped out there, real docile. And I think I rode him 2 or 3 jumps and fell off, and it was just like, I'm the king of the world. Yeah. I was like, I'm a bull rider now, you know. I'm not just the steer rider kid, you know.
Wow.
I kind of made that level, and I remember after that, I just, I just craved it. Like, just the higher they jump, the faster they spin, the better I like it.
Really?
Oh, just dirty rank. Just run them in there. Let's go. And when I was little, I mean, even when I was like 14 or 15, you know, the guys were starting to breed the bulls for like the PBR. Like they full on started these like breeding programs. You know, you could go to a practice pen and, you know, be an old farmer that had 2 or 3 old bulls that you could get on and practice, and they'd just jump around and just, you know, nothing that was really going to hurt you bad, you know. And then they started breeding these young bulls. And, man, you'd go to the practice pen, there'd be 10 or 15 of these, like, yearlings that bucked, and they needed somebody to get on them, you know, like test pilot. And I was the test pilot. There was a guy named Bradley Raspberry, I believe, kind of out in Brownwood. I remember going to his house, and I could ride. I was pretty sticky when I could ride a lot better when I was younger than I was when I got older, you know. For some reason, I just had that no fear or whatever that was. And I'd get on 10 or 15 a day. And they just kept running them in there, man. They'd be trying to flip over in the chute, and just, you know, they're young green bulls that were half wild, and they're just trying to figure out which ones bucked and which ones didn't. And they would, you know, they'd get rid of the ones that didn't buck and keep the ones that did. And, man, I'd just be like, the wilder they got in the chute, like, the more aggressive I got. Like, I just like was like, oh, okay, that's what we're gonna do. Come on, let's go. Let's do this. You know. I don't know. I was nuts. You know.
God, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's such a crazy way to live your life. You know, wild bulls. You say wild, like the ones that are out there in the wild. They're some of the most dangerous animals that you could ever encounter.
Mm-hmm.
When they're like they call them scrub bulls.
Mm-hmm.
Like my buddy Adam, he lives in Australia, or he's moving to America. But when he lived in Australia, he said that they would encounter these scrub bulls, which is like wild domestic bulls that got out and started breeding, and then many generations later, they're now completely wild.
Yeah, they're like deer out there.
Yeah, and they will run after you.
I knew these 3 guys from Australia or several Australian guys that came over, lived in Stephenville. A lot of these cowboys would move to Stephenville because it was so central. It was kind of cowboy capital there. And his name was Lance Kelly, had some brothers, and they were from up there in North Queensland somewhere. And one summer he went back to work, and then when he came back, he'd tell me about where he was from all the time, you know. And I was young and curious. I was always fascinated. I was like, wow, you're from Australia, you know. I've only seen movies, you know, like what's the oh gosh, I'm
Crocodile Dundee.
No, Man from Snowy River. No, which was anyway. But I was fascinated with Australia and him and his brothers, and so he went home and he had videotaped a VHS. You know, you didn't have phones back then, but it was like the old VHS tape recorder, and he'd duct taped it around his body while he was walking around working on the ranch. And he'd have his 4-wheeler, and they're chasing these wild cattle and rounding them up, him and his brothers. And he would just, like, chase them on a 4-wheeler as long as, you know, to keep them running until they got so tired they couldn't go anymore. And then he had this piece of pipe on there. He could run up behind them and kind of knock them down. And then he'd jump off and tie their legs together. And they would catch a bunch of them like that. And then his brother would come by, you know, later with a truck and a winch and winch them up into the trailer, and they would catch all these wild cows like that. And to be able to see that footage and stuff and have him tell me how they were doing it and show me, I was like, oh, that's the coolest thing in the world. I want to go. When can I go, you know?
Australia is such a crazy place, man.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's bigger than the United States, or the size of the United States, roughly. Mm-hmm. And it has less people than Los Angeles.
And everything will kill you over there.
Everything will kill you.
Every snake,
bug,
spider.
Every snake, crocodiles.
Yeah.
They have saltwater crocodiles and giant fucking great white sharks. Like, whoo. And hardy people, man.
Yeah.
Hardy motherfuckers come from that place.
I feel like Texas and a lot of folks from Australia are like a bit kindred spirits.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so too. My buddy James McCann was on the podcast yesterday. He's a comic out of Australia. Mm-hmm. And he's from there, and he spends time here. He was living here for a while, but he had to move back because he had another kid. But now he's coming back and forth and trying to figure. He's really talented.
Yeah.
He's trying
coming
to
to
figure
Austin,
out,
or what?
Yeah, he was living in Austin for a couple of years, and living in America for a couple of years, living in Austin for about a year. But you know, his wife's about to have another kid, and they just decided to go back to Australia where she's got support. But man, he fucking misses it. He was here. He's like, mate, I miss it so much.
Yeah,
I miss it so much. Like, I don't think there's any place like this place.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty awesome. But Australia, it's the same kind of thing. It's like it's a rugged place, and the kind of people that live there, they're fun. They're fun, kind of got a super fucked up oppressive government, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think it's a lot about what you say too. You know, when you survive certain things in your life, and you know, it puts things in perspective of what you're taking seriously anymore. What's an emergency? You know,
Right.
what's
right.
Oh, is this
Right.
this is life or death, or is it not, or you know, and to be able to laugh at stuff. Man, I love the comedians. It's just like, man, to be able to just joke and cut stuff about the most serious things or whatever it is. It's like, God, we need that so much, you know?
It's an important service. It doesn't
Yeah.
seem like it is to people because it seems stupid. You're like, oh, you're just telling jokes. Like, not for me, when I go and watch a good comedy show, I feel better. It's medicine. And I think it also puts life into perspective. With a sense of humor, you can kind of look at things through a different lens and go, yeah, we're probably going to be all right.
I get a feeling like, you know, I think a lot of folks have this idea that songwriters, or where, you know, especially, you know, have a bunch of sad songs or whatever to go to that deep place and you live through stuff that you write about. But, man, I find in comics, man, I feel like there's some of the heaviest stuff in the world that those folks have experienced, to be able to, you know, come up and tell these kinds of jokes and stories, and the educational part of it with it. You know, it's so much, I don't know, for me it seems like it's so much more than just a joke.
It is with some. I mean,
Yeah.
some people just do jokes. It really depends on your style. But I
Yeah.
mean, if you go back to like Richard Pryor, his whole thing was like explaining life and telling stories.
Yeah.
But with an amazing sense of humor. And that you would leave that, and you like, everybody feels like more united. They feel better.
Yeah.
Just like you like
It's what everybody was thinking.
Yeah, it was everybody's thinking, afraid to say, and also he would look at things from a very wise perspective that was also hilarious. So you walked out of there feeling better.
Yeah.
You felt like you were better.
It felt like there's bringing some hope,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, there's hope in humor.
Yeah.
For sure. But there's hope in music, too.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have any musical talent at all, but I always think of music as almost like a drug. Because music, when a good song hits, you're like, fuck. Like, if you're in the car and a good tune comes on, like especially back when I used to listen to the radio, you know, and like you didn't expect what was coming on, and all of a sudden,
Can't rewind it.
yeah, all of a sudden it's Radar Love by Golden Ear, and you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Like you feel different. It like changes your mood. Like you hear like Freebird, like you're flipping through the channels and the fucking guitar solo for Freebird comes on, you're like, yes! You feel better. Like it excites all these parts of your senses, your consciousness, your feelings. It's a drug. I mean, it's an amazing
It's always
thing.
been real therapeutic for me at the very beginning. Like I said, I didn't have high expectations, but I knew when I kind of wrote some of the first songs that I wrote, and I like got some of that stuff off my chest, like it changed me, you know?
Yeah?
It became a tool that all of a sudden I had access to this thing that like was helping me heal in a way. Like I could get stuff off my chest, like the things that I was uncomfortable talking about in conversation with folks. Like I could put them into a song and like sing them to the wall. And I was just like getting that stuff out. Like there wasn't anybody in the room. And I was just like, you know, but I was getting this stuff out of me, you know?
And it's also a way for
Yeah.
people to hear it where it's not annoying. You know what I mean? Like if you just tell some sad story about your
Yeah.
life, people are like, oh, geez. I
You're
gotta
like,
get
here
out
we
of here.
go. Cry me a river, kid. Everybody's got a story.
But if you have a sad story in a song, it's like fucking, it's beautiful. Like I love a good sad song. You know, a song that has like real emotion in it, whether it's a real story or whether, like one of my favorite Coulter Wall songs is Kate McCannon.
Yeah.
Jamie turned me on to that song.
Yeah.
He said it to me.
Man, Coulter's a gem.
He was fucking 21 when he made that song, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You listen to that song, that sounds like a 58-year-old man who's been smoking cigarettes his whole life.
Yeah.
And that dude is interesting, too, because he still works on a ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He's one of my favorites of the younger guys that have come up and been doing this. He's just, same way when I first heard those first songs, I was like, who the fuck is this? Like,
Yeah.
you know? Then
Yeah.
I saw like a picture of him. I'm like, oh man, he's a kid, you know.
Crazy.
And I just a fabulous
Raven
songwriter,
is a
guitar
wicked
player.
bird. You hear that, you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And when I couldn't believe he was 21, I'm like, that makes zero sense.
Yeah. He's got it though, man. And there's a bunch of them out there now that I'm hearing too. There's just like, I'm like, man, how cool. You know, how cool. I'm so glad that they're getting a shot at it, or just getting the support. I don't know if it's saying getting a shot at it, but it's like getting the love and support that they deserve for it's good music, man. They
Yeah,
write
it's
good
great.
songs, you know?
It's great music, and there's a thing now with the internet where it's so easy to share something.
Mhm,
You know,
yeah.
like someone's got a good song and it's on YouTube or Spotify, and then you
Mm-hmm.
just send a link to your buddy.
Yeah.
You go, bro, check this out. Like, I gotta say, like half the songs I find out about, my friends just send me,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, yeah. And then I'll add it to my playlist. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's easy to share things now, where you don't have to go to the record store and pick up the record, and you know, now it's just like within seconds of you getting it in your phone, you're listening to it.
Yeah, and it's easier to record the stuff too. You know,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you don't need $500,000 in a studio and all that stuff. It's like, man, half the stuff you can record on your phone.
Well, look at Oliver
Yeah.
Anthony.
Yeah,
One fucking song,
yeah.
and the first show he ever does is like 18,000 people. That is the first show that dude ever performed
Yeah,
at.
I feel for him. I would never have been able to do that when I started. You know,
Bro,
like I
he-
was not prepared for anything like. And I don't know. Maybe they're not. But that's a lot of.
He settled
Lot to
in, man.
carry, you
He
know,
settled
baby.
in pretty easy. He figured it
Yeah.
out. He's a smart cat.
Yeah.
He's a really smart dude, and he settled in really easy.
I guess they have to, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, I always think like, you know, gosh, it's changed so much since I started out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we didn't even have like, you know, if you wanted to learn how to play a song, you kind of had to go listen to the record and just try to figure it out, you know, and like rewind it. And now there's like, oh, here's a guy that'll just show you every note and this and
Yeah, there's
that.
a guy
you know,
on
and-
YouTube that'll show you exactly where to
exactly
place
how
your
to
fingers.
do it.
Yeah.
You know? And that took me years to figure out, you know. And but you know, maybe that is like today, you know, these guys, it's they're learning how to do it at such a quicker rate, and like they know how to handle the crowds and do all the stuff, and it's just like boom, there you go.
Well, that's
know?
with everything today.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's also why, like, I mean, in martial arts and like UFC, there's a reason why the guys are so much better today. And it's because they get to see everything that everybody's ever done, and then they practice it and improve upon it, and they get it
Yeah.
at a early age. You can essentially
Yeah.
just on your phone watch every fight that's ever taken place ever in human history that's been recorded.
I did that on the road a few years ago. I mean, I've always been a pretty rudimentary guitar player. You know, I can't solo all over the place and all of that stuff. And I think it was like 2019. I put out a record, and I was going on a tour. And my friend Charlie Sexton produced the album. He's a wonderful guitar player. And
Charlie
been a
Sexton,
mentor.
the guy from the 80s, Beat
From
So
Austin,
Lonely.
yeah.
That guy?
Play with. I
remember that
Dylan,
song.
Play the Archangel.
He was like really young when Beat So Lonely came out, right?
Oh man, he's legend. And I remember calling him though. I was like, man, I really want to get better at the guitar, you know. And he's like, well, just listen to all the stuff that you really like, you know. He's like, don't try to play it all note for note. He's like, just keep listening to it, and like you'll start eventually finding those places and develop your style. But it was when I got on the road as well. Man, I had access on YouTube.
Right.
To all of my favorite musicians and guitar players, and I just kind of made a point of sitting down. And I even found this guy that was just breaking down and giving simple blues guitar lessons for kids. And I was like, man, this is great. Never done anything like this. And just like I went back, you know.
Right.
I got to memorize all the notes on the fretboard, and I needed, you know, and I had so much fun doing it. And you know, and also give confidence to get up and jam with other musicians and play and kind of know what key you're in, what you're doing. And you know, I went years, you know, without having any kind of lessons or training, and then I just like within 3 weeks of being on tour and watching YouTube videos of it, just stepped it up so much. You know? They're like, how'd you learn how to do it? I just about 20 years later in my career, I decided to learn how to play the guitar on YouTube.
It is amazing. I mean, that's the positive part of the internet. You know, if you could avoid the negative parts, there's a lot of great positive stuff in the internet, and the access to stuff like that is amazing.
Yeah, if we all could just avoid the negative of everything, right?
Right. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't have good lives, and they do have a lot of extra time because they're not really investing in their own life, so they're just spreading negativity online.
Yeah.
And it's just human nature.
Wild world.
It is. It's a wild world, but it's also a wildly positive world, too. Just what you just said about the guitar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or with the Oliver Anthony stuff. I mean, this guy standing there with a guitar in front of a field with no production value at all, but has a song that he's singing from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many views does that shit have on YouTube? It's got to be like 100 million views or something nuts. I mean, that song was fucking gigantic.
Yeah.
Rich Men North of...
Mm-hmm. I remember my wife playing it for me for the first time, and I was just like, I was like, what is that? And she's like, oh, man, check this out. You know, I was like, that's so fucking rad.
Yeah, I got a chance to see him perform live, too, with his band. They're fucking fantastic. Yeah. And he's completely settled into being famous now. He's cool with it.
Yeah.
He's still the same dude.
Mm-hmm.
I met him real early on, and I actually talked to him on the phone. How many was it got? 236 million. Holy shit. Wow.
When you say like he's settled, dude, was he? I didn't know. Was he having a hard time with it?
He was freaking out at the beginning, and I contacted him early on, and he said, "Hey, can I ask you some advice?" And we talk on the phone. I said, "Yeah, sure." Mm-hmm. So I called him up, and he was just telling me that he was getting hit up by all these different people that were trying to give him money to sign a contract and this. And then I go, "Hey, mm-hmm. Don't sign nothing." I go, "You don't need nobody. You don't need to be locked up in any contracts with nobody." Yeah, and he was like, "They're all telling me I got to strike while the iron's hot." I'm like, "Fuck them." I go, "You got talent, dude. Yeah. Talent is the number one thing. You already have that. You're going to be fine. Yeah. You just keep making songs like that. You can't fucking lose. But what you don't want to do is be tied with some legal contract to some assholes just sucking you like a vampire. Yeah. And they're going to be stuck with you for years, and then you're going to have to go to court to get out of that shit. Them. Exactly.
Yeah, you have the opportunity, like you said, you just, man, you're writing good songs, you're doing good stuff, and you have a way to give it to the people.
But he's getting an offer for like $7 million to sign this. I'm like, don't do it. Yeah. I know it sounds like, but that $7 million, they're giving you that because they're going to make 14. There's not a chance in hell. Yeah. You don't need them. Yeah. You don't need them. You should get all the money. You should get all. You shouldn't give any money to anybody else. Yeah. You don't need it. You can make your own records. You can put it all together yourself. You don't need nobody.
Mm-hmm. I guess you always got to remember they're going to buy for one, sell for two somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way they're going to give you that money unless they're going to make a lot more, and then you're going to get stuck with them. Don't do it. And he's like, they're all telling me I got to do it now because if I miss this opportunity, I'm like, you ain't missing shit. Yeah, you ain't missing. There's not a chance you're going to miss it,
especially when you're that young.
Yeah,
you know?
And good.
Yeah,
and just fucking good.
Yeah. Who knows what they're going to be writing in the next 10 years?
Yeah.
You know?
Have you heard that song "Woman Scorned"?
I haven't, no. Is that one of his new ones?
Woo! Yeah. He wrote that one after a breakup, and it's just, woo! You hear that fucker, it just gets you right in the bone marrow.
Yeah, get you.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's so good. But it's just like, it's a beautiful story. And I love a story like that. And dude was like selling, heavy equipment. Like he was a salesman, just like fucking machinery and shit. Yeah. And then writing songs, and he gets fed up one day, and he puts this song, let's make a video of this fucking song. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, boom.
Man, people ask me all the time, they're like, man, who do you think's, the best young songwriter out there, musician or guitar player? I'm like, man, I don't know. It's probably some 16-year-old kid in the garage that nobody's heard of. That's probably the best guy out there,
And he's ready to jump off.
Yeah, and he's going to hit you with some song that just... crushes you.
Yeah. They're out there. Mm-hmm. It's just, but that's the thing that I was saying about guys like you, that people look at guys like you and it's such a romantic story. They worry that there's not going to be any more of you. Mm. You know what I mean? Like this weird digital world and AI and just this strange fucking life that we're all living like now that are not, I don't want to say simple because it's not simple, but it's unencumbered by all the bullshit of the world that we think is fake and unfortunate. Yeah. Like to have this pure life and this wild romantic story. When people meet a guy like you, they're like, oh man, there probably ain't going to be many more of them.
I don't know, man. I mean, look at this guy, Yeah. The guys that are coming. I feel so fortunate too. Like, when I did come to Austin, like in my mid 20s, I met guys like Joe Ely and Terry Allen and Guy Clark and like these Steve Earle, legendary kind of guys that I looked up to. And I remember being young then and being like, oh man, these are the last guys left,
Right.
And so, I don't know. There's so many of these young folks out there that are doing it that I think crave it, and that's what they're interested in. They want to play that music, they want to feel that stuff. So I'm optimistic about it, but it definitely is a different world out there these days. And I even for myself, just going with the flow and like, well, where are we going tomorrow? How's this? Like, I have no idea how so much of this social media stuff is working, or what, and how you put out an album or songs, and it's like, don't worry about all that jazz. Just keep writing.
Yeah.
Just keep writing, keep making it, and
Just
keep
be
performing
undeniable.
it. And at the end of the day, if all of that stuff disappears, like, you can always go sit on the sidewalk and put your tip jar out there and play a song for people who are walking down the street, and I guarantee you there's going to be somebody that's going to stop and appreciate it,
Well, that's what got Charlie Crockett started out.
Yeah. I've had plenty of gigs where, like, you go into some bar and my wife always says, go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. And you go into some bar and you can tell they don't really want, they're not excited about you playing or whatever. Like, shit, I'll go park in the parking lot across the street and sit on the tailgate of my truck and play, and we'll have a party over there,
Yeah. That is the crazy thing about music.
Yeah.
You could just kind of set up anywhere.
You don't need all that stuff. You like talking about just signing contracts and deals and all that. It's like, man, just like you got that guitar in your hand, you got your song, hold on to it.
Yeah.
And protect it. It's something that's special to you. I think when I talk about the therapy of songwriting, that's what's. I hold on and protect that ruthlessly. I'm not just giving that away. And it's more, that part of it's way more important than selling an album or a concert ticket or going on the road touring and all that, man. Like, what I get out of music is like when I'm sitting at home in a room all by myself and letting that stuff pour out of me, and I'm just singing it to the wall. Like, that's what's saved my life.
That's awesome.
It ain't any of the rest of it.
I'm glad that you articulate it that way, too, because I think there's young, aspiring songwriters and singers out there that are listening to this right now that are feeling this, and they just can't wait to get to a pad right now and start writing, pick up their guitar and start writing. Because it's like stories like yours and the way you express it, it inspires people to get excited about it, inspires people to really dig in.
I hope so. I definitely had folks that mentored me like that and, steered me in the right direction in a lot of ways. Terry Allen, the guy, definitely. I'm just like, man, just keep writing. Keep, and whatever that's making you want to do that in the first place, like that, like hold on to that, and protect it. And the rest will always be around, and it'll always come, and it'll change, and a good song will survive and find its way, just like the guy, that song you just played me, like you said, 200 million people in it, just they'll find its way,
Yeah.
It'll find its way into people's hearts.
Yeah. And like I said, it's important for people like you to tell your story. It really is.
Thank you.
It's fuel for people.
Thanks.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And tell everybody if they want to find you performing anywhere, where they can catch you. You got a website that shows where you're going to be at? Everywhere?
All over the interwebs. Yeah, it's all out there.
Do you have your own personal website?
I do. It's probably just ryanbingham.com or binghammusic.com, something like that. Got all the tour dates.
All the dates are up there.
Yeah.
Do you use social media at all?
Yeah, we're on all this. All this
Do you
stuff.
pay attention to it, or you got somebody that does it for you?
Both.
Yeah?
I do both, yeah. Like
Cool.
mostly like on Instagram, I pay attention to that one, and check in and stuff like that. But there's so much of it these days. It's like I can't keep up
Yeah,
with
you
all
can't
of
keep
it.
up. It's
You
not-
know?
It'll rob your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go get away where all that stuff's turned off. That's where you'll find me.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.